We're going to, well, welcome, but we're going to begin in just 1 minute. Thank you. Are you good, Madam Clerk? Okay. Well, good evening. Welcome to your town hall. Having reached the hour of about 6:02, I think it is. I'll call the meeting to order of the Sahuarita Town Council and remind everybody that tonight's meeting is going to be broadcast live as well as taped, as all our meetings are. Tonight's invocation will be given by Bianca Cruz, our senior office assistant, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by NJROTC Cadet Lieutenant Commander Michaela Carlson, a senior at Sahuarita High School. So at this time, Bianca.
Lord, thank you for bringing us to this meeting tonight. We pray for all the government officials gathered here, that you guide the mayor and council as they make decisions that impact the town of Sahuarita. Grant them wisdom to make just and fair decisions that promote the well-being and progress of our community. Impart your wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful outcome. Amen.
Amen. Lieutenant Commander.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for being here. I'll begin with a roll call. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Bracco.
Here.
Councilmember Davis. Here. Councilmember Gillespie.
Here.
Councilmember Morales. Councilmember Priolo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Egbert.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thanks. And we have beginning with two presentations tonight. The first one will be by our police chief, John Nolan, will present the recognition of excellence to Sahuarita High School student, Kimberly Allen. So if you would join me at the podium, please. Just to reiterate, we started with Michaela with the pledge. We're off to Kimberly and her recognition, and then we have a following presentation of a lot of our student winners. So, I'm just so pleased that we have this opportunity to do this type of recognition, because obviously sometimes our kids who do not make good choices make the media. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to highlight so many of our good young residents in the town of Sahuarita. She did promise she's not going to run for mayor anytime soon. So and after you hear all of what the chief has to say, you'll understand why I'm very happy about that. So, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to put on my obligatory old guy glasses here for a moment or two. And any officials or family members that want to come up and get in a great position to gather a picture or two, by all means, please do. I'm going to stick with reading this. I might ad-lib just a little bit as I go through there. But with that, every once in a while we get an opportunity to issue either a commendation, which typically has to do with life-saving or something significant about physical safety to a member of the public, or a recognition of excellence, what we refer to as an ROE. And I actually love doing these, and I noticed our school resource officer, Sergeant Tadeo, flip your hand up out there, there you go, is here to help with this. So I think most of us are aware we have a SRO program that helps make our school district and individual schools safe, and every once in a while we get to brag about one of our students. So with that, this recognition of excellence is issued to Kimberly Allen. Kimberly, in many ways, is like any other Sahuarita teen. What differentiates Kimberly from the average teen is how she goes about doing what she does. Did you know Kimberly likes to strive for excellence in about everything that she does? She demonstrates teamwork with other teens and groups that she's affiliated with. Kimberly is clearly a participant in life. She is committed and produces quality in just about all that she does. Here is just a bit of what Kimberly does, and I had to truncate this down. There's my academic word for the moment. I had to truncate this down, shrink it down in order to get it to fit on this. So when I say it's a bit of what she does, it's a fraction of what she does. She has been an active participant in the Sahuarita Teen Advisory Council, known as STAC, for multiple years. STAC's members, to include Kimberly, work to motivate fellow students, put on age-appropriate activities for youth to enhance social interactions, and to establish a voice for teens. Did you know that Kimberly volunteers with the Animal League of Green Valley, has been serving at her local church, has been teaching and participating on planning councils. She has worked to advance community service and beautification projects, has served as a youth camp leader for young women, has volunteered at school-sponsored events such as graduations, swim meets, football games, and campus cleaning projects, reads to young children, has made cards for veterans, and participated in food and clothing drives. I'll catch my breath. That's a long paragraph. Additionally, she's a lifeguard, artist, and pianist. And oh yeah, she lifts weights. If you're a little overwhelmed by all this, so are we. We're having a hard time figuring out if the S on Kimberly's chest is for Sahuarita or Superwoman. On top of all this, Kimberly yet again demonstrated excellence by scoring a perfect score on the ACTs. This is something that less than 1/4% of test takers achieve. The Sahuarita Police Department and the Parks and Rec Department present this recognition of excellence to Kimberly Allen for her incredible achievements. Kimberly, we're proud of you, and we're excited to see what you do in the years to come.
But not run for mayor.
So there's a copy of that.
Thank you.
And I'm going to provide you with our recognition of excellence medallion, as well as our police department challenge coin, challenging you to do well in what comes next.
Thank you.
Great work, fantastic. Great work. Thank you.
What the chief didn't say is I tutored her for that ACT preparation. No, I did not. On there. Next, we have a presentation, multiple ones, by Matt Rowland, Deputy Director of the Southern Arizona Arts and Cultural Alliance, SACA, will present awards to the winners of the second annual Sahuarita Photography Contest. Mr. Rowland, would you join me? And Devin?
I'll wait for you to pick back up there.
Yeah, we can do pictures of. Yeah,
There'll be a presentation, then we'll do pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Before we get started, so Matt is with the Southern Arizona Arts and Cultural Association, and I would be remiss if I didn't describe him as an absolute partner to the town of Sahuarita, our community. He's been helpful in spearheading lots of our art projects, but also has become a signature event for us, our Art on the Lake Festival in January, as well as the photography contest. So I'm excited to welcome Matt to present this impact report on the community, but also for the photography competition we just held. Thank you, Matt.
All right. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and be able to say a few words about both the Southern Arizona Arts and Cultural Alliance, but also this past year of programming. So just a little bit about myself. As Devin said, my name is Matt Rowland. I'm the Deputy Director of SACA, the Southern Arizona Arts and Cultural Alliance, and we've been partnering with the town for the last 5 years. So this partnership started in 2018, and now we have a long-term partnership with Parks and Recreation to implement a variety of strategic initiatives related to supporting arts and culture here in the community of Sahuarita. And it's a pleasure for me to be part of this project. I've been with the organization for 8 years now. But way back in my childhood, my dad's a fiddle player, and so I grew up coming down to this area for a bluegrass festival way back in the 90s, and so it's fun here, 30 or so years later to be a part of helping spearhead these sorts of projects and keep them going here in the community. So I want to start a little bit about SACA, and then I'll go through our programs this year, and then we are very excited to recognize the winners of the photography competition this year, which I know we have a few here, and it's been installed in the lobby out there for everyone to see for the next year. So SACA is a nonprofit organization. We started about 30 years ago, and our mission is to create, preserve, and advance the arts in a lot of capacities. What we strive to do is strengthen the bonds within a community, using arts and culture, but really building any sort of collaborative, arts-driven enterprise. That could be a festival, it could be an art installation, it could be a photography competition, to help the community tell their own story. We're really about helping the community realize the artists that already live within them, rather than just bring in the arts from the outside. That's really how we look at the work that we do. We did start out as the Greater Oro Valley Arts Council back in 1997. So we started out as the Arts Council, and then about 15 years into the organization, when funding was discontinued from the town, we recognized there was a need for a wider organization to support arts and culture throughout the region. So that's when we started working with many other towns like Sahuarita, but also we work in Phoenix as well. So we partner with the town of Fountain Hills, the town of Glendale. We work with Local First Arizona on several big signature projects up in the Phoenix area. But Tucson, Oro Valley, and the Sahuarita area are really the core of our services and programming in our community. And so during that time, we work on a lot of different projects. It's sort of describing what SACA does is a little bit like describing what a Rubik's Cube does, because we are very partner driven. And whatever partner we're working with, we want them to help realize the vision of how arts and culture and community can serve those internal and external goals. So it looks a little bit like advocacy. We do advocate for arts and culture funding and support for both individual artists, but also nonprofit organizations. We spearheaded the Arts and Economic Prosperity Report this past year, and this was a national survey done by Americans for the Arts. And we have over 340 registered arts and culture nonprofits in Pima County. And this study, which has been going on for 35 years, documents the economic impact of those organizations on their municipalities and their communities. And so we are very proud to lead that effort here in Pima County. The end result is that report shows that when a person goes to an arts and culture activity, in addition to the ticket price they're paying for that, in average, they spend an additional $38 beyond that. And so it gives us a very tangible number when we say, I'm going to a car show even, I'm going to a different event. You're going to buy food, you're going to pay for parking, you're going to go to a restaurant. And so it helps document that impact in addition to the investment of the event itself. We work on a lot of programming, so as I said, we work on chalk art festivals, and here in the town, we've done chalk art festivals. We've tried creative arts festivals. Every year, it's changed a little bit to try and find a mix to the Parks and Recreation goals of community engagement. And so those programs have changed every year. We do a lot of work in culinary as well. We also run an art center up in Tucson at the Tucson Mall. So if you're ever up in Tucson Mall, stop by and say hello. That's called the Catalyst Creative Collective. It's a 14,000 square foot facility. We work a lot in business and arts, so we partner with a lot of major businesses like Cox and Roche, Tissue Diagnostics, the VA as well, to implement arts initiatives within those businesses. And then placemaking, that's a term that gets used a lot, but it basically means how do we define our sense of place, both visually, but also through culture demonstrations. And so the project that we're going to talk about today, the photography competition, it's a great example of that placemaking initiative. How do we see and document the place that we live? But also, how do we decorate the places that we live? You know, the murals, the sculptures, that's the sort of placemaking initiative. And Sarita has been so forward-thinking about putting place in the center of how we go to our parks and look at our parks and see ourselves at our parks. And then human capital, as I said at the very beginning, we're very much about recognizing the people and the assets you have within the community. Not everything has to be brought in from the outside. So this competition is a great example. We have over 50 photographers that participate in this event. Over half of them are Sarita residents. The other half came in from Tucson, from Nogales, from Phoenix even. And all the photos had to be taken within Sarita limits, but it recognizes we have amazing photographers here, both amateur and professional. And so it's just telling that story of who lives here in the community and what are they interested in. And arts and health, we do a lot of work at the VA and also senior living communities, and we've partnered with many of the assisted living communities here in the area to bring arts and culture into those communities, but also help those residents take over arts and culture programs like galleries, performances, clubs, and build a more thriving community into the later years. So as I said, empowering communities through the arts, that's really our vision, and this is one of my favorite photos from Art on the Lake this past year, one of the Folklorico dance group. So a little bit about the partnership here in Sarita, as I said, started in 2018, and this is the first time we've had the chance to present to the council, so I really kind of want to give a 360 view, and then of course we'll talk about the specific program at the end. This year, this fiscal year 23-24, the partnership focused on three big pillars. The Art on the Lake Festival, which has become the signature collaboration, happens every year in January, down at the lake around the amphitheater and the grass area there, and it is a partnership with Rancho, so Rancho is of course very supportive, and a lot of the residents walk over to the event, and it's just become an incredible cultural celebration, looking at performances from a lot of different groups on the amphitheater stage, mural installations, just trying to bring new arts into the Sarita community. Public art, we have the two big installations that went up this year, the Sarita Lake and the Wrightson Ridge project, which is, I'll talk a little bit about, the photo competition, and then all of those, of course, creating opportunities for artists to make and sell work. So Art on the Lake, a little bit about this project. We had 40 artists participate this year. In all of those sales get handled individually by those artists. It's a vending opportunity, an economic development opportunity for those small businesses. And they reported an average of $890 in sales throughout the weekend. So across the vendors, it's about $35,000 in spending. And then using those economic impact calculators and assessments that I mentioned at the beginning, we know that combined with the event spending, plus the artist spending to participate and the sales to the artists, we're looking at about $170,000 in impact in one day, which is a number that we're really proud about. And this event continues to grow. It's happened just a few years, but each year we're working on bringing new signature installations. Did anyone see the mirror balls this year that went up on the lake? It was a short-term installation, only happened a couple days, but the number of photos that went up on social media around that, we were really pleased to see. Just sort of that delight and discovery to something you wouldn't expect to see. We had 3,500 attendees, food vendors, artisan foods, and then the local performances, of course, which I mentioned. We had the Tucson Sino Dance come and give a demonstration of Chinese fashion and dance. We had the Polish Dance Society come and do a Polish dance demonstration. The local Folklorico ensemble performed. Mariachi performed. So really big diversity of performances that we got to see there at the lake that we don't usually get to see in the concert series. And you can mark your your calendars. It will be happening that second weekend in January as well. So we're excited for round 3. The creative placemaking projects this past year. So the main installation that went up during the Art in the Lake project was the Tony Plack mural, which you might remember the first year actually was a ground-based mural kind of on the amphitheater, and we learned a lot of people walk on the amphitheater. So it did not make it too long just because of how popular that site is. And so we brought Tony back this year to do an installation on the restroom building that we really wanted to be a signature Sarita piece, something that people could take a photo with, could be a destination piece, similar to the incredible student mural through the Tabby project that's really could be a landmark piece. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about placemaking, is it's something that can become a landmark. And I think this mural turned out wonderful. It's called Blue Quails in the Desert. And then the new project, which the artist has been selected by the Public Art Committee, is going to be an installation at Wrightson Ridge. It's going to be on the sidewalks going down from the school over to the baseball fields, it's a huge canvas if you think about the sidewalks there. And so this was a very competitive application, and it was narrowed down to 3 finalists, and Jesse Perry, an artist from Phoenix, was chosen. And so there's going to be a series of interactive installations on the sidewalk going from the school with a variety of educational themes, celebrating local flora and fauna, poisonous snakes, kind of weaving in. I just put 2 small images here. There'll be a kind of sand, river stone, skipping, jumping activity, but weaving in some scientific education into there, but also interactive chalk art elements. So it will be a really stunning piece, and it's going to be a piece that the students themselves will get to help paint. So Jesse is committed to doing some workshops with the art club there at Wrightson Ridge, and then they'll get the opportunity to help paint the mural as well. So you can look for that to be going up in early fall. And then I also wanted to highlight this incredible installation. A lot of people don't know the story about these 2, we call them puzzle murals. So there's the Parque de los Arroyos, and then this new installation at Quail Creek Park are some of the most famous murals in southern Arizona. During COVID, when that first installation went up by Jessica Gonzalez in Parque de los Arroyos, it was, for those that haven't seen it, these are recycled public works signs that were in the graveyard, and then the town donated them. They were primed and installed in a variety of levels, and so if you're standing in the right spot, comes together as this beautiful mural, but if you're not seeing it, the pieces sort of separate. And so it's meant to be this interactive installation and suggests the idea of stories coming together. So Jessica Gonzalez built this concept for Sarita, and during COVID, when that first installation went up, it was the second most shared social media story by Visit Tucson of all of their stories that year. So that was something we were really excited to see, put Sarita on the map in terms of murals. And so when we were looking for an installation for Quail Creek Park, something that spoke to the name, Veterans Municipal Park, we approached Jessica again with the idea of repeating this concept, but taking the stories of local residents. So we collected over 50 stories from family members with military backgrounds. And she took those stories and wove them into this piece, and so it turned out it's a really stunning, has everyone had the chance to see that at some point in the park. It's really a nice welcome piece as you drive into the park. So that was completed last summer, and we did a dedication for that in advance of the Veterans Day celebration down there. All right, well, now is our chance to recognize our winning photographers. So just a little bit about this competition. This is the second year it's happened, and going from the first year it happened to the second year, we had a 30% growth in submissions. So we had over 60 photographers this year submit, and that was across all 6 categories. So photographers, the photos have to come from within town limits, but they could be residents of anywhere. And those 6 categories are life in Sarita, places in Sarita, plants and wildlife, digitally altered artistic images, youth photography, and portraits of a community. And I will just say, we've done these photography competitions in a number of different places, and the photos that came back this year were stunning. There are very talented photographers, both amateur and professional, that submitted. And these photos act as a gift to the town. These are available to use for media and marketing. It kind of helps you as council members and town staff to tell that story visually through the eyes of the residents. So before we get into the winners, I just want to say a show of hands. We have some photographers here. Wanna raise your hand? Okay, wonderful. Could we just give them a round of applause before we get started? So as I get your photo, if you want to stand up, just so we can clap, I think we have about six or seven photographers of the winning photographs. So Life in Sarita, we have Aubrey here. There we go. Aubrey Prestwich had several winning entries, and so this is the first place award in the Life in Sarita category. It titled Senior Year, and it was taken at Sarita High School. The second place winner was from Erin Ray. Is Erin here? She's not able to make it. Erin also had several winning entries. So this photo is called Cow Story Time, was taken close to Man and Sarita Road. And that is a hungry looking cow, that's all I'll say. Life in Sarita, third place to Raquel Cook. Panther Raquel. I love this photo so much. So this is from Fiesta Sarita at Animax Park, and the lighting was just so beautiful, so I was happy to see it selected as a winner. We did have honorable mentions in each category, so those are also printed and available in the foyer. So Erin Ray, Goats, Turkeys, and Books. Aubrey Prestwich, Batter Up. Aubrey Prestwich, Riding in the Rain. Linda Williams, Sarita Lake Stroll. Tyler Rushing, Sunset Huddle. Charlotte Palmer, A Little Fun and Sunshine. Do we have any of the honorable mention winners here as well?
Stand up again.
Yeah, there we go, I know. Gonna get your workout on. All right, so Life in Sarita, there you go. Places. So this was meant to tell a story of a particular place. The winning entry was from Charlotte Palmer. Is Charlotte here? Okay. Also had several winning entries. And I will just mention, you will see some repeat names, but interestingly, most of the repeat winners from last year didn't have photos that entered this year. So we had a lot of first-time winners this year, even though you see some repeat names. Good Day Sarita, and this is, of course, over at Sarita Lake Park. Sandy Ostroff, is Sandy here? All right, there we go. So there we go, the mirror ball installation, the chrome spheres on ponds, Sarita Lake Park. I know exactly what day this was taken too, because it went down the next day. Third place to Steve Pietmeyer. Is Steve here? It's an incredible photo. We had some amazing nature photography. As you'll see, this is called Monsoon Sunset, Goldeneye Way. Honorable mentions, we had Joseph Retsky, Monsoon in the upper left. Tyler Rushing, The Woman Under the Bridge, there in the underpass. Paul Livingston, Cold War Titan. You all know where that is. Deborah Seeloff, Cactus Beauty at Llano Grande Park. Cactus Colors at Llano Grande Park. Do we have any of these photographers here? Okay, all right. Plants and wildlife. So this was really meant to document, and this is some incredible photos here in this category. First place to Beth Serdut. Is Beth here? She told me she was traveling on her way back to Sarita, so she looks like she didn't make it. She had several winning entries as well. Eye of the Huron, Sarita Lake. And we'll also mention we had judges, we had 3 judges per category, and so we incorporated scores from about 12 different judges, both a mix of professional photographers, but also some town representatives got to participate. Kim Holmes, second place, Looking at Lunch, Sarita Lake Park. Kim, are you here? All right. So what a great photo. Third place, Bobby Smith. Bobby, are you here? Fighting Hummers, Calle Playa de Siesta. This photo, I don't know how you take a photo like that. That is a split second right there. Incredible photography. Some additional photos in Plants and Wildlife. Bobby Smith, Untitled in the upper left. Diane Marr, Black Crown Night Heron, and yes, that is a fish in that bird's mouth. Brooke Bowman, Inner Beauty. Eliana Davis, The Buzzing Bee. Sathavi Weldon, The Gazer. Do we have any of these photographers here? No? All right, there you go. Yeah. You want to mention your name since we had 2 photographers stand up? What was your name? Brooke Bowman. Wonderful. Wonderful. 2 of our youth photographers. You will see their names again. Digitally altered artistic images. First place, Joseph Retsky, Sarita Collage all over Sarita. So the concept for this category is these are photos that have been altered or combined together digitally. So you can see that's where we're standing right now,
Right.
is inside that photo. Dave Bisharat, is Dave here? All right. Second place, the Sarita Festival Mirror. So the theme for the Art on the Lake this year was mirrors. So a lot of the art installations incorporated reflection or mirrors. So it was fun to see this festival mirrored back to us in the competition in several ways. But you can see there the performing arts group Vessel, which came down from Phoenix. It's a professor at ASU, a design professor, and it's a moving art installation, then combined together with many of the other performances at the event. And then third place, Aubrey Prestwich again. Quarantine with type 1 diabetes, West Cayo Paso Suave. And I loved this photo. A wonderful story that went along with it. So congratulations, Aubrey. Okay. Okay. Honorable mention, Sandy Ostroff, Pecan Grove, Nicole Beaver, Summer Days, Alan Medlow, Milky Way over Sarita, Sathafi Weldon, Enclosed in an Alternate Universe, Mary Beth Livingston, Lydia's Face. Are any of these photographers here as well?
No, Sandy's here.
Sandy, of course. All right, on to the youth photography category. Well, we've already met her, but first place, Brooke Bowman. Stand up. Leaves in the Limelight over at Sarita High School. That's the winning photograph. Second place went to Genesis Villa Lopez, Fuegos Artificiales, Calle de la Plaza, Saurita. Genesis, are you here? Yes. Congratulations. And third place, entry from Brooke as well. Beautiful close-up details in that one. Angel in the details. It's an appropriate name. Sarita High School. And then a couple other honorable mentions. Tyler Rushing, LDR Woman. Tyler Rushing, The State. Tanner Palmer, Cars, Sunshine, Sarita, and Eliana Davis, Cocoa Puff. How about a hand for these photographers as well? Portraits, first place to Aaron Ray, A Boy and His Goats over at Sarita Road. Love that photo. Second place, no stranger to the photography competition, Brooke Bowman again. Happiness at Home, Wrangler Road. And who is this willing subject here? Ah, there we go. That deserves a round of applause as well. It's a beautiful photo. Third place, Aubrey Prestwich, Just Like Grandpa over at Maggie Ranch Road. Congratulations, Aubrey. Honorable mentions in the portraits category, Tyler Rushing, Joy Outside, Angelica Duran, Golden Hour, Paul Livingston, Wheels Up, Aaron Ray, Young Love, Sathafi Weldon, Clinging to Childhood. How about a hand for these photographers here? Well, that is all of our winners. How about one more round of applause for our competitive photographers? So as I said, these photos will be up installed in Town Hall to tell a story for the year round until the next competition happens. It's been a pleasure to oversee it, and this next year we have some really exciting projects in store, including the Wrightson Ridge mural going up, and the Art on the Lake repeating, and then also just more public art investment coming down the pipeline. So thank you to Devin for the opportunity to speak, and thank you.
Thanks for you being here, and thanks for the partnership.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Next, we have call to the public. The call to the public is now open. Individuals may speak for 3 minutes. Spokespersons 10. The council may not discuss matters not on the agenda. However, at the end of the call to the public, council members may respond to criticism, request staff to review the issue, or add the topic to a future agenda. I have several, but it's for a particular agenda item, so I hold those to the agenda item. The rules still pertain, but this would be just normal call to the public. Anybody want to address the council on things not on the agenda tonight? Seeing no movement, I will close the call to the public, and Madam Clerk may have, please read item number 7.
Town Manager's Report highlighting employee and department accomplishments, capital improvement projects, development projects, and town events.
Thanks. And our town manager is out of town this evening, so our assistant town manager, Beth Abramovitz, will lead the discussion. Good evening, Beth.
Make sure I'm on.
There you go.
There we go. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it is a privilege to highlight for you the town manager's August 2024 report on behalf of Shane, who could not be here this evening. But first, I do want to acknowledge the effort by our leadership team and the town manager's office putting this together. It's a huge effort by everyone, but having this quality report is really important to keep everybody up to date on what's going on, month to month within, our community and with our staff. So for the period of July 15th to August 15th, we added 5 new employees. Alexia Numenez in Human Resources, Elise Duran in the Town Clerk's Office, Stephanie Kanya in Finance, Kerrigan Hanks in Parks and Recreation, Brandon Massey in Public Works, and we have a service milestone for Nicole Serene in Parks and Recreation. She's our permits compliance coordinator, and she is celebrating her 5th anniversary with the town.
Yay.
So, congratulations, Nicole. I did see her earlier. I don't know if she was
We can
still-
clap that.
Oh, there she is. She's in the back. So some of our major department highlights tonight. I'm only going to touch on a few. If you read the report, you'll find a whole lot more. So last month, during the Arizona Association of Chiefs of Police Summit in Flagstaff, PD members had the opportunity to share new technology, and the attendees, including our drone and robotics program. The staff presented on the Glove, which is the PD's newest non-lethal option, and they demonstrated how the gloves worked, and they even tested them on a few of the volunteers in the audience. SPD is also pleased to welcome John Carlson as our new lieutenant. Starting August 12th, Lieutenant Carlson will fill the current vacancy and be assigned to the Patrol Bureau. And on August 6th, Representative Juan Ciscomani visited the Sahuarita PD to discuss his efforts to secure grant funding for the handheld radio replacement program. These new radios will greatly enhance police field communications, enabling clearer sharing of critical information. In our Department of Law, Barbara Jackson, our criminal paralegal, was awarded the Administrative Professional Lifetime Achievement Award by the Arizona Prosecution Attorneys Advisory Council.
Oh.
Barb has almost 30 years of experience in the prosecution field, and she has devoted her entire career to helping victims of crime navigate the criminal justice system and worked with many attorneys to hold criminals accountable. So congratulations to Barb and the Department of Law. In IT, we have to extend congratulations to Daniel Ortega. He received his Certified in Cybersecurity certification from the International Information System Security Certification Consortium.
Say that 3 times, please.
I know,
No.
that's a lot of initials. In community development, we want to say congratulations to Chris Baucom, a building inspector, and to Diana Hamburger, a senior permit technician, on earning some of their certifications. Chris earned the residential plumbing inspector certification, and Diana earned her permit technician certification, and both are those issued by the Internal Code Council. For Parks and Recreation, Barker Rinker Seacat, who will actually be here later tonight, has been developing our feasibility study to understand our multi-generational recreation center programming, operations, maintenance, associated membership fees, and what the facility could look like. Conceptual renderings have been released and presented for the recreational center as well as for the North Santa Cruz Sports Complex. In Parks and Recreation, we are excited to announce the results of the Sahuarita Photograph Contest tonight. And again, the photographs will be available for you to see in the lobby. The La Vita Community Center site plans for tenant improvements have been received, and we have selected A5 Design and Construction to begin as the general contractor. I believe construction starts this week. So we are working through processing some necessary change orders for the Animax splash pad, but the project is moving forward. On August 6th, Recreation held a meeting with our registered sports organizations to gather feedback and review the potential changes to field rentals and usage. The feedback has indicated that the meeting was a success. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention this event because I have been bugging Devin about having this event for probably 2 years now. We finally had puppy yoga, and we collaborated with the Animal League of Green Valley, and at least 2 puppies found new homes because of that event.
They were able to do downward dog pretty easily.
Right. It's in their DNA.
Feed the dog, downward dog, yeah, so. I want to say a big thank you to the Public Works street staff who responded to the July 25th storm by clearing roadways of over 100 tons of debris, removing fallen trees, and barricading flooded areas. Additionally, our traffic engineering department has been very busy with a variety of projects and maintenance tasks, including installing a new traffic signal at Delgado Road and Sahuarita Road, which addressed several equipment failures, and we've improved traffic flow through signal modifications. In economic development and public affairs, Power Photonics is celebrating a year of wafer scale design and manufacturing in Sahuarita. ATAG's building permit has been issued by the town, and tenant improvements for the build-out have begun. The economic development team hosted a site visit with the owners of the Box Yard. The Box Yard is an outdoor patio, bar, and eatery located on 4th Avenue in Tucson. They're comprised of 10 brightly colored shipping containers that house 4 local food entrepreneurs, 2 full bars, and indoor and outdoor seating. And town staff presented to the Box Yard representatives the many opportunities and reason why Sahuarita might be an ideal location for the next Box Yard. So with our capital improvement projects, with the start of a new fiscal year, we have a number of departments who are starting their capital improvement projects. So stay tuned for future updates on that progress. And with that, if anybody has any questions?
Thank you. Any questions to my left? Any questions to my right? Nope. Thanks for the report. Appreciate it. Next, we come to council brief summary of current events. Councilman Priol? Right. Kara? Bill? Simon? Debbie? I just had one. I just want to congratulate Sahuarita Unified School District. They're doing 2 ribbon cutting groundbreakings this week. We're going to, some of us are going to the League of Cities and Towns tomorrow. So the first one is at Walden Grove tomorrow at 5, so I won't be able to be at that one, but congratulations. And then Friday night, over at SHS, they're going to be doing the ribbon cutting, ribbon cutting, not groundbreaking, they're finished, of the field, and both of those are home games. So we'll be busy in Sahuarita on Friday. So congratulations to them. Reminder, our next regular scheduled meeting is September 9th, 2024. And I'll move to item number 9, which is our consent agenda. Entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 10.
Presentation and update from the Santa Cruz Valley Historical Society.
Thanks. And I was originally thinking Mac Ternowski, which a lot of us know, but she had a personal issue come up. So Monica Christensen, I think, is going to be here, and we'll be presenting this item to the council. Or both.
Hello. We're missing our fearless leader.
Yes.
So when I missed an event because of a death in my family, I came away being the vice president. So Mary should be very worried that she's not here. We just wanted to take a few minutes of your time to introduce you to the Santa Cruz Valley Historical Society and talk about a few projects that we've started working towards. The Santa Cruz Valley Historical Society is brand new. We're just trying to get everything up and running and started with that. We have a lot of information on our website, so my suggestion would be to visit that. We were going to do a display with the website, which is what Mary had in mind, but I felt like that would take too long and it would be too crazy to try to navigate. So we're going to just tell you to visit our website if you're curious. To give you a little bit of background about our history, December of 2022, a group of historians put together a book called Sarita, Arizona, Treasured Nuggets from the Past. It was a 6-year project that we didn't think would ever end. But during that project, we realized that there was a lot that was missing as far as the history of this area. And it includes the whole valley. We're not just focused on Sahuarita or Green Valley or Continental. We want to include everyone that has stories and treasures to share. And the other thing that we discovered was a lot of stuff was disappearing. Buildings were going away. People were passing away their stories, all of their memories. A lot was going in the dumpster as far as photos and special artifacts. And so as we were putting together the book, I think we lost 6 or 7 people who had contributed that passed away during the time that the book was being compiled. And so we felt like it was extremely important to form some kind of a society to help us preserve those structures and the stories and everything that goes with it. When we set up, our mission is to collect, preserve, and share the history of Santa Cruz Valley, Greater Sahuarita area in an effort to educate future generations and foster a better understanding and appreciation of the values that built our communities and contributed to Pima County's heritage. And what we've discovered as we've all kind of pulled together and started working on things is education is huge to us. It's one of our primary goals, and that education includes our children and our grandchildren, but it also includes the adults in the community. We want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to learn and grow, whether you're 2 years old or whether you're 90 years old. And we want everybody to be able to share. Projects that we've got going right now. Currently, we're working on a monthly community education lecture series, and we have people signed up to come and present at the Green Valley Library once a month from now till November, and then pick up again in the spring from February, March, and April. And so we've got that set up as a free community service. Anybody that would like to come is welcome, and we would love to have you there. And hopefully we'll be able to record those series and put them on like YouTube so that they can be saved. We're working on historical plaques to put throughout the valley. We feel like it's important for people that are walking or driving to be able to stop and read a little bit of our history, especially for things that are no longer here. And one of the things that we're really excited about getting a commemoration put up for is the German prisoner of war, the satellite work camp that was down, it's kind of close to the Veterans Memorial Park by Quail Creek, but it's actually a little bit south of that. So we want to mark where that actually existed. Archives projects with digitization and preservation of old photos, documents, artifacts, and then stories from the Santa Cruz, which we're working on, which would be digital biographies and stories that we'll save from members of the community. Whether they're about our valley or whether we actually are about other places, we feel like everyone has something valuable to share. And then Amy's going to talk to us for a few minutes about the program that we're starting next month in the school district called Museum in Motion, and she's got some insights to share about what they're going to be doing.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got these different categories because when I moved here 25 years ago, there was only 4,000 people, and now is it 38,000. So, I mean, everybody's new, and they don't know the vast history. Monica didn't mention any dates, but the 1800s is when Sarita started with a stagecoach stop here on the way to Tubac. So we want our little kids at school to be proud of us, be proud of their town. And so we have the railroads, and there was a depot here in Sarita, and of course our little copper mines around where they're getting bigger, and the farms. And we're bringing artifacts to the schools because here we are doing this presentation. But if I give you something to touch, do you want to pass that down? They say that the kids at school, a lot of them are iPad kids and stuff, and they don't get to interact and touch anything. So we bring them things they can interact with, and just to remember what the lessons are about. Anyway, we're really excited to share some of this history because it's kind of being lost, like she said, or people just don't know. We're really excited. We got a mayor in 1994, and we celebrate that, but we don't celebrate the 100 years before that, so that's what we're here to do. Pass it back.
Okay. So that's going to be starting up, we're doing a pilot program at Wrightson Ridge, and they'll be starting that up the middle of next month. So really excited to see how that goes. Amy has a little trunk with all kinds of little fun things for the kids to actually interact with and learn the lessons applying to history, but also tied into our local area. So they're learning about people in this valley that were in the railroad and the mines and the farms instead of just learning generically. So it's really cool, and we're excited about that. And then how can you help? And there's so much to do. There's not very many of us right now, and so we're always looking for people to join and volunteer in the activities that we've got going. We need everything from people that want to write to people that want to preserve photos to want to do, anything you can want to do, we have a job for you. And then obviously donations with artifacts, resources. It's amazing what you find in dumpsters in Green Valley, like just trunks full of old photos that just get thrown away. And so if anybody comes across things that are just being destroyed, we would love to try to identify those and preserve those and scan them and save those. And as far as a town, what we could use help with is partnering with town improvement projects. The historical markers is one that we're really excited about. There's lots of development coming through the town where you have lots of trail systems and parks going in. And so it would be fun to do historical markers or maybe even benches along those trails that tell a history of whatever area they're in. We're always looking for a place to have a home. We're kind of homeless right now, and it's early going, but ideas for that would be amazing and wonderful if you can, keep that on the radar, and if you have some thoughts or some brilliant ideas. Also, as far as history, if you have questions and stuff that you need researched or information that you would like to have, we would love to help. We would love to have you encourage community interest and engagement in preservation efforts to make it a point with our community and make sure that they're aware that it's important that we preserve our past and we save the things that matter to us. And then consider including local history projects and activities in your budgetary allocations. If there's stuff that you have that could have a historic take on it, we would love to have that as well as something we could work with. And then coming forward, we've got our first fundraiser scheduled, and Amy's going to tell you a little about that.
Okay, we're going to have a battle of the baskets. And we thought cornhole would be a fun activity because people of all ages can play it. So it's kind of like a family event and also like a work event a little bit. You can, like, in the town council, form a team, maybe go against Parks and Rec, where's Devin? Something like that, just kind of create some fun and create some teams so we can get a little funds raised for some of these projects that we're doing. And we're partnering with Triple Play for the location. Let's see, there's some information on this website, the website there and the flyers. You can fill out a form if you want to join, but it's something for everybody, and it's November 16th, just a fun family day, and there'll be a silent auction for these baskets. We'll give baskets to the winners, but also there'll be, the silent auction baskets we're getting from members of the community, like a spa or something like that. So we'd love to have everybody come.
Can you make sure you get the electronic flyer of that to the town clerk to distribute to us? Because a few of us are on social media, and that's the easiest way to get that information out.
All right,
Thanks.
Thank you. And like I say, we've got all kinds of information on the website, so if you need more information about this, there's also requests and details for people that might want to sponsor the event, or we're needing lots of donations for the baskets. So we've been contacting local community organizations and businesses and asking if they would like to contribute gift cards or merchandise to go in the baskets for people in the community to purchase. So this we'll get that to you, and we hope to see you there. Thanks.
You. Appreciate it. Well, thank you. And I think the membership is only like $25 a year, isn't it, to be a member? I think
It's
that's what.
actually, it's, for just an individual, it's like $15.
Oh, okay.
We wanted to make sure that everybody in the community could afford it. You want to raise money, but at the same time, we didn't want anybody left out because of financial reasons.
Great.
So we'd love to have you.
Yeah, we were really proud that Councilmember Bracco was one of those stagecoach drivers back in the 1800s, so I really like that. Absolutely. I was planting a seed. Thank you for being here. Madam Clerk, item number 11.
Presentation, discussion, and possible direction regarding the results of the multi-generational community recreation center feasibility study.
Thanks. And Devin Stalder, our Park and Rec Director, will introduce the item, and then the multi-generational community recreation center feasibility study will be presented by Craig Bowick and Jenna Katsaros. I tried really hard. Good evening once again, Devin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for having us. So before I turn the mic over to Jenna and Craig, I just wanted to share, our department is a little bit split up today. We have our state conference going on in Tucson. Dylan and several of our team members are up there. He won the state award. I think we mentioned that before. He was the Parks Professional of the Year. So we're operating in two areas. But I bring this up because by chance, Craig and Jenna were joining us in the Tucson area for the conference, and it worked out great that they could be here and join us in person. So I just really wanted to thank them for being here. We've been waiting for the second batch of information on the rec center, and we're excited to present it to you tonight. So with that,
Thanks.
I'll hand it over to Craig and Jenna.
Welcome, Craig and Jenna.
That's your little Zoom button.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. We're very excited tonight to share with you Phase 2 of our multi-generational recreation center feasibility study. If you recall, at the end of May, we presented Phase 1. Phase 1 was really focused on synthesizing all of the public input to come up with a building program and to develop an overall project budget. After approval of that, what we've been doing in Phase 2 is developing a floor plan, figuring out how that building might fit on the site that we've been given, developing three-dimensional architectural character drawings to see what it might look like from the outside, and maybe most importantly, developing an operational plan. And so today we're going to share that information with you. The first half will be some of the pretty pictures, and then the really exciting part, Jenna's going to step up and share a lot of numbers, which will be really fun for her to walk you through, and excited to do that. As a reminder, we have a whole team of people that have been working on this project. Some of you've met at various times during this process, but just know that a lot of effort, and we've had a lot of fun. This has been a very exciting project to work on. This is a brief summary of the program that we ended in Phase 1, and this just gives you a picture of some of the things that are going to be inside the recreation center. So everything in red that you see are those required spaces, those spaces that we need to run a building almost no matter what size it is. There's administration spaces, locker spaces, lobbies, things like child watch and things like that, which you need to do no matter what your programming are. The green areas are those community type spaces, multi-purpose rooms. A teaching kitchen was very high on the information that we got as a desired space. The gray spaces are our recreation spaces, a multipurpose gymnasium, a walk-jog track, fitness and weight components, group fitness areas, and a bouldering wall. The blue areas have to do all with aquatics. So we have a multipurpose recreational pool, a water slide, and then the support spaces that go there. So as a reminder that we ended up with about 54,000 square feet. So let's look at this plan as it's developed, and let me be able to walk you through this. Oh, this is cool. All right, I'll stop there. In a moment, we're going to show you a bunch of different slides, but we'll get to a slide that shows how this building fits on the site. But for now, let's focus on the building itself, and then we'll zoom out and see how it fits onto the site. This area that you're seeing right here is the front of our building, and it is our drop-off zone, okay? So the first thing you'll see is a large patio space That patio space is meant to be a very welcoming, inviting space where people can wait for rides. There's some gathering areas. It's on the north side of the building, so it's very sheltered and shady and cool. Right adjacent to that is a welcoming lobby area. This pink area that you're seeing where the cursor is our welcome desk. That's the hub of the building. The building is organized in such a way so the people who are operating it, your staff, can have visual supervision of all areas of the building. They can see the entryway, they can see down all the hallways, and they can be there to answer questions and support whoever is in the building. If you make a turn to the left and go down this hallway, these are where we have our community multipurpose spaces. Now, one thing I should mention about every single space, and this was clear from the programming effort, every single space has to be a Swiss Army knife, meaning that we're going to try to do as many activities as we can to get the most function and versatility out of every room in the building. So this multipurpose room is meant to be a classroom space, a meeting space, a gathering space, a place where programs can happen. It can be used for parties and gatherings. Adjacent to this space is a large outdoor space that's shaded and has immediate access to a teaching kitchen. The teaching kitchen will also function as a catering kitchen and can support both indoor activities as well as outdoor activities. The multipurpose room and the patio are also organized to take in the distant mountain views. Now, across from the multipurpose room is what we're calling our child watch. It's a babysitting space. It's a place where grandparents and parents can drop kids off for a few hours of supervision so that they can take advantage of programs in the building. The admin space is right behind the reception desk, and it's the hub. It's the center of organization and management of the center, and it's centrally located. If we go the other direction as we enter, this is a lounge. The idea here is you can come and there'll be tables and chairs and couches, televisions, Wi-Fi, and from here you can see into the pool space, as well as be protected and take advantage of activities that might be outside. Now, we're showing on this covered patio space, one of the advantages of being next to the pool space is that this can be another birthday party space. That's right adjacent, so if there's a birthday party in the pool room, they can take advantage of this protected area on the front porch. Now, coming down the hallway here, we've got access to our locker rooms, which go directly into the pool space. We've got a bouldering wall. This is a wider corridor with the intention that it's not just a corridor, but it's an activity area. There'll be places for seating and lounging and gathering. So no matter where you are in the building, you'll be able to be either inside an activity space or you'll be adjacent to one and be able to observe it. And for example, if you're a parent and you've got a kid maybe taking a basketball class and you want to work on your laptop and check some email, you'll be able to sit at a nice countertop here and watch the basketball and also get some work done. Now, this gymnasium space is sized for 2 middle school courts as well as a high school court, 6 pickleball courts, a couple of volleyball courts. All kinds of things can happen in this. It's really meant to be a versatile gymnasium space. A couple of group exercise spaces as well as a large fitness area. This fitness area has glass, which all look to the south and again capture those distant mountain views. This has a walking track that surrounds it to get in about 12 laps per mile. Now, the other space that I didn't really mention yet is our recreation pool. It's meant to be a warm water activity pool. It's got lap swimming, fitness, classes, lots of play features, therapy spaces, and a lot of deck space to enjoy that. Outside of it will be a sunning space when the weather permits, and we'll have large doors that open up between the indoor space and the outdoor space, so it will feel like an outdoor space as much as possible when the weather permits. The remaining of the building are our support spaces for mechanical and all the things we need to run the building. So that's a brief tour of what's going on inside the building. Here are some photographs to give you a sense of what we're talking about. Now, we've selected this with our committee to sort of give you a sense of similar spaces. These aren't exactly yours, but they have a similar feel. So when we're talking about that reception desk and places for people to lounge both inside and outside, it might look something like this. When we talk about our restrooms, we want them to be very safe and clean and accessible. Our child watch space will have activities for programming, but also indoor and outdoor connections. Our multipurpose room, where we can have birthday parties or programs or meetings. We'll have visibility to our outdoor patio and beyond. Teaching kitchen can, as I mentioned, can be a catering kitchen as well. But the idea here is to take lessons learned here and take them home. A bouldering wall in our hallway might look something like this. Our gymnasium will be of a scale similar to what you're seeing here. The fitness will have a variety of plyometric, cardio, strength training. Our group fitness studios will allow for a variety of activities, and there'll be specialized equipment installed within these studios to make them as versatile as possible, like what you're seeing in this image. It'll also potentially have doors that can open up and make these spaces available, so when classes aren't in session, these can be an extension of the fitness room for stretching or for any sort of other activities that require a little more space. Our fitness pool and recreation pool might look something like this, with a lazy river and swimming spaces, fitness areas, learn to swim programming, and lots of play activities, including water slides. And the idea with the water slide is that if we have something like what you're seeing here, is these can work independently, so when these are operating, they don't make you have to stop using other areas of the pool. They come out on these runouts, which you see in this image here. Here's a quick image of what I mean when we're talking about opening up the doors to the inside and outside. So it's not just a set of doors that open, but we're trying to remove whole sections of wall to really create an indoor and outdoor experience. In that outdoor area, we imagine some spaces that can be shaded so that small groups can get together. Here are some images of what those might look like. So here's an image as we're coming towards the building. It's a bit of a bird's eye view. You can see we're going into that drop-off area I was mentioning with that covered porch. You can see the water slides coming out of the natatorium, that outdoor area to the right, which kind of shows what we're thinking for that outdoor pool space. If we go down to street level, as if we're on a bicycle or in a car, this is that approach. We're imagining that at night, this could be a very warm and inviting space and sort of draw you in like a beacon. And then just one more image which shares kind of that idea of that covered porch, that really welcoming space where not only is it fun to meet people, to do activities, it's also a safe place to wait for rides and to gather. Okay, so that's a very quick tour of our phase 2. We also want to share a little bit about the site, and Devin's going to come up and orient you with this drawing.
Thank you, Craig. Mayor Murphy, members of the council. So just a quick high level, I know we've shared this information with you already, but the site we've looked at for this installation is tucked away right in the middle of our newest park, Man in the Maze. There's about 15 acres of property on the north end that can be developed, and it's really ideal for us because of a few things. One being the proximity to Town Hall, but as well as the schools that surround us, walking distance for our youth. But also the access to utilities, being so close to several that exist already. And lastly, it's property we already own. So we don't have to expend funds to purchase new property to be able to put this facility down. So with that, I'm going to share the mic now with Jenna.
Well, I'll give one more slide and then I'll return over to Jenna. I promised an image of the building on that site that you saw that was faded, colored green. We've actually taken the building and we've twisted it a little bit to orient it so they can take best advantage of the distant views into the mountains. And we've taken those public spaces, that community room, the community patio, the fitness rooms, and now they're oriented to do that. We should also say that when we were doing the initial plan, we were planning out the next 10 to 15 years, but we recognize with your rate of growth that the current program will need to grow as well. And so the building is oriented and organized in such a way that it can be expanded in all of its areas. The water areas, the fitness areas, the gymnasium areas, as well as the areas that we would need to manage the building. So just know that that is figured in this orientation. And with that, we're going to turn and talk about operations.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm excited to be here. I haven't met you all before, but I am Jenna Katsaros, and I'm actually a park and recreation professional as well in my former life, and now I work for an architecture firm that specializes in recreation centers. So we put together this operations plan based on staff's experience, my experience, and then we also go back and benchmark the operational data of BRS design facilities. And so we have this whole litany of data that we were able to refer to. Here are all of the components that we talked through with Devin and his staff. Staffing, this is your largest expense of any business, and certainly in a recreation center. The hours of operations, this isn't your typical public building. It's operating a lot of hours. Customer service, what's the expectation of people when they come in? That's going to tie into your staffing. Supplies and services, of course. Utilities, which can be another large expense. These are big volume spaces with pumps and HVAC systems running 24/7. All of that develops our budget, and then we look at fees and charges and cost recovery. So cost recovery, it really is a philosophy. It's different in every community. It depends on that community and the people they serve regarding who and what should be subsidized. And so these are all the different targets that go into making a cost recovery philosophy. It's really something to think about on a spectrum. Like you see here, you can have 100% cost recovery, but sometimes that means that you may be excluding certain members of the community because they may not be able to afford it. On the other side of the spectrum, you have, the public is often like, I want to get into this center, this is mine. I don't want to have to pay that much. So lower cost recovery does tend to allow for larger access to members of the community. So it's really finding what's the right one for the town. As Craig just mentioned, the program, this is what our pro forma or our business plan was based on, this 54,000 square foot center that he just walked us through. So here are the proposed hours of operation. Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 12 hours each day, 6 to 6. And Sunday, 10 to 4. So 86 hours a week, something that we shared with Devin, and he knows quite well. It's always easier to add hours based on demand than to dial them back and take them away. So it's still robust hours, but more could be added. And these are for your drop-in activities. So it's not to say that the Parks and Recreation Department won't have after-hour rentals or a kids' night after the facility closes. But these are your general drop-in access hours. So expenses, we base this on the current program, as well as salaries and wages estimated out to fiscal year 2028. So you've just entered fiscal year 25. So this is looking past that year into the next 3 cycles in fiscal year 2028. So we worked with Devin and with the Human Resources Department to estimate what might wages look like then for both full and part-time staff, supplies and services as well. Looking ahead, what might it be in 2028? And we were very conservatively high when we were making these projections for expenses. Now the activity pool, it's very typical. The pool closes an hour before the center. That gives patrons time to get to the locker rooms and get showered and ready to go. It also gives staff the opportunity to go in and clean, check chemicals, etc. You can see here that during the school year, we do have the activity pool closing from 10 to 3, except on Wednesday when it's 10 to 1. And this is something else that's really common practice these days for a couple reasons. One is that most of your lifeguards are in school during that time. It's also a lull in a typical recreation center. It can just be the time of day that there's not quite as much activity going on in the pool. people can still come in at 6 a.m. and, swim laps or walk the lazy river, but then at 10 o'clock, the pool shuts down until the lifeguard's able to come. So it's a life safety, and it's really something we're seeing across the country. So here's the draft staffing chart. 13.25 new FTEs, and you'll see there are 3 different positions that are existing. And you'll see, for example, some are half-time FTEs, and what that means is they're supporting the recreation center, but they're also supporting other department operations. So between those 7 different employees their hours are split, there's a net positive gain of about $25,000 to those other operating budgets within the department. And then, of course, there'll be new part-time positions as well. Here's your full-time staffing, all the various positions with the estimated wages and benefits, again, escalated to 2028 at $1.5 million. Part-time staffing, this is your front desk, your customer service, childcare attendants. The largest one of these expenses, of course, is the lifeguards, because every time that pool's open, you have to have guards on deck. So that's the largest expense there. Part-time wages at $544,000. So just over $2 million for total wages with benefits. That's our escalated cost. About 69% of your total operating budget is in staffing. And again, this is something, I just put together our benchmarking report looking at 2023 data, actuals, and we find that staffing makes up anywhere from 68 to 70% of most community recreation centers' budgets. Then, of course, we have supplies, the large one here being pool chemicals. You have uniforms, different recreation program supplies. Under services, this is your contract services, whether you're contracting with a private fitness provider. We also have janitorial services contracted in there, credit card fees, and of course utilities as well. The capital repair and replacement is added to the total expenses at 5%. This is recommended, not required, for future capital needs. So the number shifted a bit, but the total operating expenses are projected at $2.9 million annually. So looking at the other side of the ledger here, our revenue assumptions. So standard fitness and standard aquatic classes will be included with your membership. I joked with Devin that we didn't take the approach of Frontier Airlines where you come in and then you have to pay for your different classes. It's if you buy a membership, you get all of these things added in. Child Watch is also included with memberships. We also estimate that non-residents will make up about 50% of admission sales, considering other communities near here, even South Tucson, Vail, Green Valley, they may come and utilize this great center. And of course, admission fees could be adjusted prior to the center's opening. So what comes with your admission? Well, 6 pickleball courts, as Craig said. So drop-in activities in the gym. Your fitness area will have different cardio equipment, access to that indoor walk jog track, swim lanes, family play, different standard fitness classes, and of course that bouldering wall. So all of that's included. Now when we looked at fees, we developed 4 different scenarios and analyzed each of those to see what impact that had on the revenue budget. You can see in the blue box, that's the draft age categories. So youth 3 to 17, adults 18 to 59, and seniors 60 plus. On the passes, we've structured youth and seniors to be the same rate, keeping it really simple really easy for everyone to remember, also a very common practice. So at the top of these, is this my, yep. So you'll see 60, 70, 80, and 90. So these were the different scenarios that we looked at. 60% cost recovery, 70%, 80, what would it look like at 90? So you can see the resident rates. Oh, that's really kind of cool. I skipped ahead there. Let me go back. What?
Other way.
Oh, I'm giving it away. Okay. So youth and seniors, you can see at 60%, it's $4 a day pass. It goes up slightly. Now, non-residents will pay more to access the center. So here's our various, 6, 8, and 10. So these are your day passes. We entice people to come in. They want to try it. They buy a day pass. Thank you. So for annual passes, it is presumed that the town will opt for the convenience of a monthly auto debit. So here you can see again the monthly rate at 60%, what it might be at 70, 80, and 90. At the bottom, this is just showing, again, it's the monthly rate times 12. So just doing the math there. Now, when we did this, we determined that individuals would pay at least, individual non-residents would pay at least $8 more, and family non-residents would pay at least $18 more. And this is just based on the fact that with the potential bond, the assessed value would be mitigated through those costs, because that's what it may cost homeowners, residents. So we took all of that into consideration. And so I'm going to show you our projected visits. Again, this is based on what we see across the country as far as participation rates. And so expecting 1,100 to 1,200 people a day is very common. There's something for everyone to do, especially with the access to the schools nearby, great walkability. We were, under the tunnel today. It's just a terrific site to have a recreation center. So we project 400,000, and I think that's probably pretty conservative. So before we get into the admission revenue, there will be other revenue sources. This center will allow the department to really expand their recreation programming. They'll be able to have revenue from birthday parties, swim lessons, youth camps, different, personal training. There'll be some specialized fitness, so something a little bit specialized that you'll have a specialized provider come in, so you do charge a fee for that. As well as Child Watch, if somebody who is not a member just wants to access the Child Watch with their day pass. So we were very conservatively low with making these projections. So total other revenues around $334,000. So here's our admission scenarios. We're looking at daily, punch, and annual passes. Now, prior to the center opening, there may be other pass options, but this is what we use to develop the plan. So you can see at 60%, total admissions revenue is 1.4, 70%, 1.7, 80%, just over 2 million, and then 90%, 2.3. So the admission rate or projections, how many people are coming in the door, it stays the same in all of these scenarios. The only thing that changes is those fee increases. The other revenues, those also stay the same in each of the scenarios. So overall, total revenue, you can see the different subsidy ranges. So while we are not recommending a fee, this is information that you can utilize, as down the road, as you're able to make determinations on the operating costs and the community need. So in summary, Here's our annual operating expenses. Again, that's staffing making up the majority of it at 2 million, supplies and services, and that recommended capital repair at 2.9. Again, we were being really conservatively high, and we did vet these with the finance department. Devin and I had a lot of back and forth on both of these different scenarios. And then on revenues, the total revenue range will vary based on that operating philosophy to either 1.7 to 2.6 million. Next steps.
So, Mayor and Council, this is the end of our second phase of the feasibility study, so we've completed the package. We know what we know now about the facility, and with that, I think we can turn it back to you, Mayor Murphy, for questions.
Yeah, two things hit me kind of off the bat. One was, and I know, obviously, if you extend the hours, you extend the expenses.
Right.
But my first reaction was, especially on the weekends, closing at 6 at night, that seemed early. Even during the weekday a little bit, whether it's 8 or 9 p.m. That was just my first reaction. The other one was, especially on the daily usage, because they went up, quickly, I didn't feel there was quite enough separation between the resident fee and the non-resident fee, because, as you mentioned, the taxpayers of,
Right.
of Sahuarita are going to be paying for the capital improvements of it. And when I saw the first, $8 to $10, I don't feel that's probably enough separation from a resident to non-resident perspective, because I think they should have, a really good benefit. Yeah, the 6 to 8. Obviously, I like the lower number for the resident because they had put the, the bond with it. So. That was just my first, reaction. I think the non-resident probably there isn't enough separation there. Those are my first two, I guess, just knee-jerk reaction to it.
Mayor Murphy, great observation. So this is something we wrestled with as we were going through the second phase. I'd like to just remind everyone that this is not a decision-making point.
Right.
It's just information sharing. We wrestled with it because of that same thing. Where are we going to land when we settle on fees? And there's going to be a lot of dialogue back and forth to land on something that's comfortable.
Right. And I know if you go too far out, then you don't have the participation, which cuts down on the revenue. But then if it's too easy for non-residents, then does it take capacity away from residents? So I don't know if you, Jenna, probably you've had some of this experience, and I know that's probably where you landed.
Yeah.
But for me, the sensitivity of the bond is the residents that are paying for it.
Yeah.
And I feel like there has to be, yeah, something along those lines, right. So you got separation, it's a better deal. You didn't change the overall number, but there is better benefit to the resident and maybe a little bit less, but still not negating the participation, for the non-resident. That's just my, if you want to comment on that, or?
No, I think it's it's a great point, and there's still a lot to be determined. But yes, you're right, it is a balance. And when we look at the next, we tried to have a little more separation with those annual fees for that reason. Every community is different. I have seen where they say, if you're not a resident, it has to be 50% more, but it makes it really tricky because, like you said, you quickly price yourself out.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's a point well taken. I will add on Fridays and Saturday nights, and Devin probably knows this, there is something that happens. People don't want to go to the rec center, they want to go to dinner.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that was just, again, my quick reaction.
Yeah.
And I think it was 8 o'clock during the weekday.
Yep.
But I also know, you have, kids and activities and studying, then does that take away their capacity? But that's just kind of my, Bill?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I was thinking a lot of these are going to be run by kids and, 8, 9, that's a big difference at 1 hour during school.
Right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
From my experience of being an operations manager of a large fitness center in my previous life, I will tell you that we will know if we need to extend
Right,
hours.
right.
But as she said, it is much easier to add an hour than to take away.
Right.
And so we will know very quickly if our community needs to have longer hours.
Yeah,
They will
that's
let
great.
us know.
Good point. Thank you. Diane?
Yeah, I too shared concern about the hours, but my angle of vision is the heart that I have for the at-risk youth and getting the kids out of McDonald's as their hangout place and into the rec center. And then also for the kids that are coming from impoverished families, that maybe that's a bridge too far. In other communities, are there scholarships, or the fundraising, is the coordination with the schools and with the police department as kids are maybe identified?
Councilman Priolo, so to answer your question, yes, those exist. We start to get into more advanced aspects of programming these facilities with scholarship programs or sliding fee scales. They're discussions we've had, and we'll very likely explore those as we move forward. But for now, this is really that high-level understanding of what a membership fee could look like.
Yeah, this is the first snapshot that we're actually seeing on it, but, this is the kind of feedback that, I wanted to have from my colleagues as well. Dr. Gillespie, did you have anything to add on your first reaction on a couple of those points?
First reactions, I agree we should spoil our residents first and foremost. And then I think if we look at the lower price recovery, I think it will also increase usage. And so it takes me back to economics and supply and demands. But I'm sure as we look at this more and look at the numbers, that can be done.
Right. Thanks.
Mayor Murphy, if I can
Yes.
too, one thing that I'm learning from Jenna through this process, and I want to bring up again as well, back here at this slide, if I can get there. Very important to note, so again, back to we're presenting a draft at this point in time with what we know. That last line there, Jenna brought up over and over again, that ahead of opening the center, we need to review these admissions again for these specifics. What is really going to be the rates that we charge so that we can find that happy place on that cost recovery scale that works for our community.
Right, yeah, thank you. Simon, did you? No. Nothing yet. Debbie? What's first reactions? Besides, you really, really want the pool, which I already know.
I just want a community pool. Rancho Sahuarita, I think, is going to have a tough time paying a fee because they're already paying a fee for what they have. So I think the outsiders, we need to keep it compatible with what our tax rate is so that we can get more of them in for the recovery.
So agreeing kind of on that separation between resident and non-resident. Any additional comments, Bill, first blush?
No, when you look at the cost recovery piece, that's going to be a budgetary decision this council is going to have to make, is saying how much are we going
Right,
to
60, 70, 80, right, something
No,
like that.
is it going to be $500,000?
Right.
Is it going to be $1 million? How much are we going to contribute each year to
Right.
make it whole?
Right. Yep, good point. Diane, and then Kara?
Yeah, I was curious, the external slide, does that have water going through it? Because all I kept thinking about was the hot sun beating down on that thing outside. And I know that slide's not air conditioned.
I think that's called solar. Solar.
No, that's a great question. Yes, it has, it does have water going through it, and it's actually the same atmosphere as the pool. So however it feels inside the room, it's going to feel inside that slide. So yes, there is water going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's all connected. It's all one, it's like an extension
Physics,
of
right?
the
Or-
inside.
it's
Yeah.
physics.
You didn't see the magic part? There's magic there.
Magic water. Do you have anything, Kara?
I just had one or two things. Thank you. It looks amazing. I know there's been a lot of work and a lot of meetings and community meetings. I think that we will have open gym basketball and volleyball and pickleball that is going to be scheduling nightmare. I'm glad that I am not looking for a job as a recreation director of this facility. The other thing is I've had a couple people about the track being 12 times around before, for a mile. And if there was any flexibility on making that larger or extending that so it's not so, like, is there another way we could add more to the track? Not maybe this round, but a future build outs. Is that part of this? Because I just know that that's a big thing to be able to run around while other people are working out. It motivates you. It keeps you like, I'm not going to walk because all those people are watching me type of moments. So.
No, it's a really good point. If we can double the size of the gym, we reduce that by half. So
Right.
just know that that's the case.
For the same price?
We never, the thing to also consider, because I think you bring up another point, which is the kind of activity that you want to have. And right now, we're showing it kind of going around the fitness room, which we imagine that as being more of a walking track experience. But we can also utilize that gymnasium space when we're not having, basketball. And there's a lot of times during the day, especially in the mornings, when that could be a very comfortable place to do walking and jogging. And that image that we shared of that gymnasium had a similar, right here. So those blue lines that go around this gymnasium are for that purpose as well. So while we can't get a longer one at this phase, you could do a circuit and do both if you wanted to. So,
I guess, and I know that I'm way late to this thing, but I know that a lot of facilities have it around gyms, on the second floor running type of thing. So they're away from getting hit by basketballs. Was
Right.
that considered outpriced? That was one of the.
we did consider that, and for the reasons you mentioned, it is a terrific amenity to have. But it was a trade-off between adding more different kinds of spaces within it so we could be more inclusive with the kinds of activities that we could offer, or doing that. And the main reason is that once we go to that second floor, we are buying an elevator and we're buying extra stairs, and we're spending money that it's a choice between that or another activity room.
Makes
and so
sense.
at this point, we chose to be more inclusive and add more activity rooms, but your point's well taken.
Okay, thank you.
Structurally, though, to the Vice Mayor's point, structurally, can it be constructed to where it could be added in the future, or does that add a lot of additional cost,
Yeah,
or just minimal?
If it's a priority, we can make that one of the expansion opportunities. And so we would plan the access to it as well as the structure so that it could accommodate that. So the answer is yes.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments? Thanks. Go ahead.
This is for Devin. Have we done any research on the Silver Sneakers?
The Silver Sneakers program. So I've worked with it in the past. We're definitely going to have an opportunity at this facility. So an insurance provider-backed membership for seniors. Yes, we would absolutely explore that. So when we talk about, I really like to share, when we take on these conceptual models, we try to estimate conservatively, expenditures high, revenues low, so that we can be safe in our projecting. One of the things on revenues low is we don't really take into account a lot of those programs that we would likely find ourselves stumbling into as we move into this facility.
And Beth, kind of for you, next steps, you heard some of the feedback that we brought to the table. What do you expect based on that feedback? A little lower for the resident, a little higher. Are you going to rework those figures, come back to us? Kind of, what's your thought process?
So I think wow. I think that for the moment, I don't think we're going to take anything back and rework it. To the point that BRS was making earlier, we're still talking about an opening date in fiscal '28.
Right.
And as we move through the project, start the design, get into the cost estimating, some of this might come out in the wash naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So as we get closer to the project, then I think when we start narrowing those
Yeah,
numbers down and taking a closer look and where we think we're going to wind up. And
Okay.
even again, right before we open the facility, we'll probably be taking that, another look before that, so.
Okay, thanks. Did you want to add anything, last thing, Devin?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't talk up BRS enough. I know we've been working with them for a few years. Beth and I had an opportunity to attend their rec camp program in the Front Range area, Denver, Colorado, and we learned so much about what these centers could be. And we've really taken that experience, working alongside now BRS to put together an idea for a center for our community. I mean, it really is built for the town of Sahuarita.
Right.
And so I really just want to thank Craig, Jenna, and their team, Mick, who isn't here, and Corey. We really appreciated working with them, and it's been an awesome process, so thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Glad you could make it in person. Madam Clerk, item number 12.
Public hearing, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 2024175, amending the Rancho Sahuarita specific plan and related exhibits and tables for purposes of modifying the land use designations of the area zoned POD 33 from low-density residential LDR to medium-low-density residential MLDR and public facilities open space drainage PFOSDR as previously approved in the Rancho Sahuarita specific plan development, and repealing all resolutions and ordinances and rules of the town of Sahuarita in conflict therewith.
Thank you. And Anna Cassidy, I don't know, my mic's on, but can you hear me, Lisa? Can you hear me? Our Community Development Director will introduce the item. Dylan will present, and then there'll be a presentation from the applicant. And then this does require a public hearing. I have about 7 speaker cards, so we'll get to those after staff goes and after the applicant goes. Good evening, Dylan and Anna.
Good evening, Mayor Murphy, members of the council. Dylan Perry will be giving the presentation tonight.
Great, thanks. Dylan?
Tonight's public hearing is for a major specific plan amendment to the Rancho Sahuarita specific plan for POD 33. The proposal is to change the land use designation from low-density residential to medium-low-density residential and public facilities open space/drainage. This would allow the applicant to then replat POD 33 to smaller lots, which would result in an additional 43 lots in POD 33. It also would memorialize a 120-foot natural open space buffer at the south end of POD 33, which is adjacent to the Valle Verde del Norte subdivision. This was a natural open space buffer was a requirement of a previous amendment that was approved in 2022. So for a little background on it, the Rancho Sahuarita specific plan was adopted in 1996, and there have been numerous amendments to the specific plan since then, with the latest being an administrative amendment earlier this year. POD 33 was part of the Entrada del Toro subdivision plat, which was for 954 lots, with 118 of those included in POD 33. So here's a map showing the location of POD 33. You'll see POD 33 there in the blue. To the north of it is the remainder of Region 9 for Rancho Sahuarita. To the south is the Valle Verde del Norte subdivision, with Calle de Julio being the northern boundary of that subdivision. And on the west is the I-19. For a little more context on this, you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the land use map from the specific plan, with POD 33 at the bottom in the low-density residential. To its northeast is POD 34 with medium low density. And then in the center of the screen there, you've got the zoning map with POD 33 there in the blue for specific plan. The Valle Verde del Norte subdivision is in the yellow with the R1. To the east of POD 33 is the La Valita specific plan, and then further east is the Sahuarita Farm specific plan, and then again on the west is the I-19. So this amendment would allow the applicant to reduce the lot widths from 67 and 55 feet down to 45 and 40 feet. The specific plan, when it was adopted, had 2 by right options in it to reduce the lot sizes. The first one on the screen is the transfer of density. This allows the applicant to take unused density from another portion of the specific plan and apply it to POD 33, allowing them to develop it at the next highest land use category. So in this case, if the amendment was approved, it would change the land use category to medium low density residential, but they would be able to develop it at medium density residential because of that transfer of density. There's also a lot size flexibility option in there, which then allows the applicant to reduce the lot sizes by an additional 20% as long as they set aside an equivalent amount of open space. This is something that they would show on the subdivision plat. And if this amendment is approved, the next step would be the subdivision plat process. And this is where the applicant would submit the subdivision plat, but they would also include updated drainage and traffic reports. And these would be reviewed by the Public Works Department. So just to show you a little bit of a comparison between what's currently allowed under the current plat and then what the proposed replat would do. So the streets would remain the same. The 120-foot natural buffer at the south end would also remain the same, but they would be reducing the lot sizes. So for basically every 2 lots that exist now, there would be 3 lots in that space. So you'll see on this southernmost row of lots, the current plat has 28 lots. The proposed replat would allow for 42. Now, how does it compare between the current and the proposed amendment? So under the current, what's currently allowed, those southernmost homes would be allowed to be 2-story, although they would be limited to 20 lots. If they're 1-story, they would have 28 lots in that southern row. And under the amendment, they would be limited to 1-story, but again, they could have up to 42 lots on that southernmost row of homes. The 120-foot natural open space buffer would remain the same. The number of lots for Pod 33 would go from 118 under the current to 161 under the proposed amendment, and the lot sizes would be reduced from 6,400 square feet minimum to a 4,000 square foot minimum. The 2 pictures up there on the screen are images of subdivisions in the town that use the same development standards as what's being proposed in this amendment. The one on the left is a current development within the Rancho Cerrita subdivision, and then the one on the right is from the Los Arroyos subdivision. Yes. Mayor Murphy, members of the council, that's correct. On the southernmost row of lots, under the current, they would be allowed to have 2-story homes. Under the proposed, they would not. However, further north within Pod 33, they could have 2-story homes. And these 2 examples are the same lot widths that they're proposing in this amendment.
Can I ask for clarification as well? The community on the right, the picture on the right, is the community that is just south of the residents that are being affected by this proposal, correct?
Council members, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the zoning code establishes the criteria for approving specific plan amendments, and those criteria are that they must conform with the general plan and the remainder of the specific plan. The applicant is also required to demonstrate that there is a special hardship due to one of the following: either unforeseen changes in the marketplace, changes in government regulations, or changes in natural conditions. In this case, the applicant has demonstrated that there is unforeseen changes in the marketplace due to changes in the housing market since the specific plan's adoption in 1996. The applicant points out that the lot sizes, the demand for the size of lots those lots have shrunk. Housing is also less affordable now. So by doing narrower lots, they're allowed to spread the cost of infrastructure over more lots, reducing the cost to the buyer. And then obviously the reduction in square footage also allows them to decrease the cost. That is correct. So as far as general plan conformance goes, there are a number of policies within the general plan that support this amendment. Those include Land Use Policy 4.1, Land Use Policy 4.3, Land Use Policy 6.1, and Growth Area Policy 1.1. This would allow the town to have more affordable housing within the town by allowing them to develop it at smaller lots. The new development would be compatible with what is already developed within the Rancho Cerrito specific plan, as well as what is able to be developed in the La Valita specific plan in the future. And the conditions help to substantially mitigate the impact to the Valle Verde del Norte subdivision. It is designated as a growth area within the general plan. So the applicant held a neighborhood meeting on April 30th. There were 4 residents in attendance at that meeting. There was a 5th resident who contacted them the day after to get additional information. The site was posted by the applicant. We did mail notice to property owners within 600 feet and extended it out for this council meeting to 1,000 feet for the Valle Verde del Norte subdivision. Property owners within 150 feet would receive protest petition forms. The ad was placed in the Green Valley News. So at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, which was held earlier this month, there were a number of residents of the Valle Verde del Norte subdivision that came out and spoke. They raised concerns with the impact of noise, what it would do to their property values, concerns over drainage, especially in the northwest corner of that subdivision, their impact on their views, concerns over crime, and also concerns over residents accessing their neighborhood through the emergency secondary access. Mayor Murphy, that is correct. And Nalo is here, and he will speak to the drainage issue a little bit later on in this presentation.
Can I ask a quick question as well? Because you mentioned that the emergency, did I hear that? They're worried about the emergency exit. So there's not going to be a normal entrance into this community from the neighbors to the north, the Valle Verde del Norte. It's not going to be a street that's a permanent street. It's only in emergencies that would have to be opened?
Councilmember Egbert, yes, correct. It'll only be a secondary emergency access that'll go down there.
Thank you.
We did receive one letter of concern prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. That was distributed to the commission members prior to that hearing, and it's also included in your packet. We did receive a letter of support from SABA, the Southern Arizona Home Builders Association, that was also distributed to the members of the council. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 3-0 in favor of recommending approval of the specific amendment with conditions. Staff had recommended 2 conditions prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The commission recommended adding a 3rd condition, and which has to do with a screening of solid masonry wall and a landscape buffer. And then I'm going to hand it over to Nalo now to address the drainage concern. Mayor Murphy, that is correct. We have a condition, recommended condition of approval that would restrict the southernmost row homes to a solid masonry wall.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Murphy, members of the council. Thank you, Dylan. Before I go into the presentation, I want to address the comment from Mayor Murphy on the the general rule for the design. That is correct. The general rule is when you do a design, you got to make sure that you're not putting more water than what you're getting onto your property to the adjacent property. So you don't want to create a scenario where you're causing the properties on the upstream side or the downstream side to flood. Typically, when a development goes through the town's review process, in addition to development plans and improvement plans, we asked that we actually required various reports to be submitted with those. One of the reports that we asked for is actually a drainage report, and that requires a registered professional engineer to actually look at the watershed, look at the waterways, look at the area in terms of the existing condition, and then coming up with a design with different recommendations and different options to make sure that the development, all the homes, all the residential homes that are going in, all the, the infrastructure that's going in, it does not get flooded. In addition to that, the homes or the properties on the adjacent to the property being developed does not get flooded as well. First of all, I want to give credit to the Rancho Sahuarita team of engineers. They've actually done a very good job with the drainage report that they've submitted to the town. It just makes my job a lot easier when I work with engineers that are thorough with their analysis. They comply with the standards and the guidelines that we've adopted. So it's it makes it a lot easier for my team when we do the review process. This right here is part of the exhibit that was submitted with the drainage report. This was done by Arroyo Engineering. I believe they're out of Tucson. The photo, the image on the, let me see, on the right side, that's actually Region 9, the whole Region 9. Over here on this side right here, this is kind of a zoomed in look at the area that's getting replatted. If you notice, the wash, a lot of the, well, let me rephrase it. A lot of the water that's coming into this side originates from the west side of I-19. And the water actually crosses a few culverts under the I-19 and it comes across to this property that's getting replatted. To kind of go back to what the mayor was asking about the amount of water coming in, the amount of water that's going out. I was looking at the numbers. The developed condition, the amount of water in terms of CFS or cubic foot per second that's leaving, it's about 4,200. The existing conditions right now, it's about 100 CFS less than what the developed condition. So the water leaving the site is actually going to be less after it's being developed than what the existing conditions are right now. Let me see. So here's a look again on the right side. That's the Region 9 as a whole, and then this side right here. This is the area that's getting replatted. All the drainage, everything, and again goes back to the direction of the flow. Everything comes from the west side of the I-19 and goes. It's actually heading towards the Santa Cruz River. Everything. As you can see, the flows are actually going kind of in a northeast direction. Dylan had mentioned that there's a natural buffer right here, open space buffer right here of about 120 feet. So nothing, I can assure you that nothing from the construction in terms of water is draining south to the adjacent property over here to the south. So everything will either be detained or retained on site, or they'll be released through the natural washes that's already there. The only area that was not developed or the only wash that was not looked at or actually analyzed with this study is wash 88, which is down here. And this one right here, it comes across from I-19 through a culvert, and then it basically empties onto Calle de Julio. The way I would say the negative thing about this wash right here, it's being channelized across I-19, so you have more of a channelized flow coming across I-19. And then as it crosses the intersection of Calle de Julio, and I think this is Norte something, it actually opens up and now it becomes more of a sheet flow or more of like a spread out flow. There's actually a channel or wash south of the homes that's adjacent to this road right here. The problem is, since now you're having more of a spread out flow, the water tends to flow wherever it's going to go. So if a similar event to the recent event that we had, where we got 3 inches of rain in a really short amount of time happens, the water is going to try to go down Calle de Julio right here instead of going back here. So it's kind of have a kind of a split flow down Calle de Julio, and then also behind the channel right here. This right here, I see it as a positive thing. It gives us the opportunity as a town to actually reach out to ADOT. Maybe the town and ADOT can start conversations in what different options that we can do over here. We also have a group of drainage projects that we were looking for fundings in terms of like federal fundings, local fundings, that we can include this right here. It is an existing condition right now, and it gives us the opportunity to see what we can do. I mean, we actually need to do some sort of drainage, like in-depth drainage analysis for this, to be able to come up with different options and recommendations. So that way we're not putting homes over here at risk of flooding or damaging. So this is an existing condition. Now that we're aware, we're going to try to initiate those discussions and conversations with ADOT, because I-19, we have to get their permission to be able for us to go in there and do any kind of like clearing or anything within their right of way. So we're going to start that with reaching out to them and start those conversations. But in the meantime, we're going to start looking for, we're going to continue looking for funds and add this to projects that we already got under our list of drainage projects. So, yep. That is correct, Mayor. That is an existing condition. It's got nothing, the construction, the development does not have any effect or any contribution to that wash coming across right there. So here's a look at it from a photo that we took of the area. This is the intersection of Calle de Julio and Valle Norte, I believe. This is the outlet side of the culvert that crosses I-19 coming from the west side. So as you can see, everything comes down this right here. There's a wash channel right here. The water is there's no bank protection or berms on the other side, since we have the road right here. So the water kind of spreads out. So there's actually evidence of it flowing down this way, because you have kind of like a natural forming V-ditch of runoff water coming down this way right here. And then you have the wash going down this way. On this side right here, you can see there the inlet to that culvert coming down this way right here. So here's a look at the clearing that's done at these area that's looking at for replatting. There's that 120-foot buffer on that side. As you can see, there's about I believe that's about a 12, 18-inch drop off right there. So all the water is actually draining this way, and nothing is going to the south side to Calle de Julio or to any of those properties right there. I know one of the concerns that some of the public here have is traffic in the area. The only tie-in that we'll have right here will be a secondary access that will only be for emergency vehicles and won't be for the public. And with that, I'll hand it back to Dylan. Yep.
Can I just have clarification on the emergency exit? I'm assuming that's one of those chained things that only the fire departments and those guys know how to open up type of stuff. Like, it's not.
Yep. Normally, for secondary access, it'll be bollards or some sort of that only the fire department would have access to in case of an emergency.
Okay, thank you.
For the drainage issues that you were describing, does that pose a risk to any of the plats that are being proposed to create a flooding problem?
Councilmember Pirola, no, it will not. The only, again, the rural engineering did a very good, thorough analysis of the drainage for all that drainage is being addressed with the development in Region 9. The only one that we're looking at from the town side of it, it's the one at Wash 88 that we'll try to include with our drainage projects. Because it's in the area, and then with the recent heavy rainstorm that we have, it happened, yeah. It showed. We take care. That is correct, Mayor.
So, as I mentioned before, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with conditions. Staff had recommended originally 2 conditions, and that was that the secondary emergency access to Calle de Julio had to be paved with asphalt in accordance with the town's emergency access policy, and that the second condition being the southernmost row of homes would be restricted to 1 story and a minimum 5,400 square foot lots for just the southernmost row. The Commission added that condition regarding the landscape buffer yard to be placed between the southernmost row of homes and the 120-foot natural open space, and for the rear yard walls to be solid masonry. Additionally, staff has added 1 additional condition since the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and that is to ensure that the open space area, that 120-foot natural space, remains that and is not used for active recreation.
May I ask a quick question on that one?
Yes.
Can you go back so I can, so the buffer, what is it, the 10-foot landscape buffered yard will be maintained by Rancho Sarita?
Councilman Begler, that's correct.
Okay, and then the 120 will be somewhat maintained by them? Like, if there was large amounts of trash or dumping of any sorts or whatever, that they would be the ones that'd be in charge of being like, let them know and they'd come in and clean that up area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so if a resident saw something, there would be a way for them to have that removed. Okay.
Mayor Murphy, that's correct. It would be common area. So the reasons for the recommendation are that it does conform with the general plan and the remainder of the specific plan. The applicant has demonstrated a special hardship due to the changes in the housing market since the specific plan's adoption, and the conditions mitigate the impact on surrounding properties. And with that, we have the recommended motion on screen. I'm here to answer any questions, but also the applicant's here with a presentation and to answer any questions as well.
Has the amount of square footage of the ranch homes changed with the reduction of the lot size? When they were...
Mayor Murphy, I'm going to let the applicant handle that question.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're going to have a question right off the bat for you, Linda.
Good evening, Mayor Murphy, members of the council. I'm Linda Morales with the Planning Center and representing Rancho Sarita. We've got Mike Bowman with me as well. And so, yeah, before I hop into any kind of presentation, absolutely, Councilmember Perriello, as the lot sizes narrow, the models do tend, by necessity, they come down. And then also the limitation to a single story further reduces the square footage. So they do become smaller models. Therefore, smaller models, smaller lots equates to more affordability and more pricing. And, we're right now, it's no secret, we're all in the middle of a housing crisis right now in this community. And the overall Tucson region, we are short on housing, and costs are just keep escalating. And affordability, unfortunately, our wages aren't going up along with that. So there really has become an affordability gap. Rancho did attempt with this plat that was approved to market that to home builders, and without success. And that's why we're here today, to go through this full council process and request this additional ability to put a few more homes into this same footprint, if you will, and be able to get a little closer and close that gap in affordability. So again, Dylan did an amazing job, and Nalo on the presentation, so I don't want to belabor that, but just real quick, I have a few additional slides just as visuals. Again, the amendment area is the southernmost piece of Rancho at Region 9. Pod 33, and this was the original specific plan. As you can see, the block plat didn't, I'm sorry, I keep, not stand so close. Can you hear me okay like this? Okay, I was standing too close there. Oh, whoa. Am I doing that? Oh, they're changing. I was like, guys, you're messing with me back there. Not much on these mics anyway. And I never was a singer. You would not want to see me sing. But anyway, so pod 33 is the southernmost pod, and the block plat didn't exactly mirror that when they came back and did that a few years after the specific plan approval. So it gets a little confusing. But this was originally how it was laid out in the specific plan. And then this is what we're proposing within the specific plan to amend this to. So pod 33 shifts from the low-density residential, which was intended to be slightly larger lots to give that transition. In lieu of the larger lots, we're proposing this 120-foot plus on the southeast corner buffer, a natural buffer as that transition. So there's really a couple different ways when you're planning to do that. You kind of come closer to lot size, or do that open space. And so this open space, again, 120 feet natural buffer, and then you have an extra 10 feet to get to the back walls of the first homes. So this memorializes that and puts this about 8 acres of that southernmost piece of the site permanently in the open space. Now, the PFOS drainage category in the specific plan does allow some other uses in there, so that is why staff has suggested the condition that says it has to be just natural. So we're completely in agreement with that. That was the intent all along, was to just make that a natural strip. The little bump out that you see as you come up in the corner is a drainage basin on top of that 120, so it'd be 120 foot natural, and then we'd have a constructed drainage basin that would again be vegetated and re-landscaped. But that's where the water that's coming off, the runoff of our subdivision, would come into there and then meter out further east. It is, again, as Nalo said, we're not dumping water into that drainage channel that goes through Valle Verde del Norte. Just we're handling that and the water is exiting the site as it does, mimicking the existing condition. So what you're looking at here is, again, I know you've seen this already, but this is the existing subdivision plat. You can see that subdivision goes across both pods 33 and 34. But again, 33 is the subject of this amendment. So this is what's approved today. This is what Rancho could build. They have the 67-foot wide lots on the south that transition to 55-foot wide lots, and then 45s. And when you get further to the north, when you get into pod 34. And this, again, is the proposal to be able to do some slightly smaller lots within that under the MLDR, as Dylan had discussed before, using the density transfer and lot reduction options in exchange for the open space. So MLDR, we've got a combination of 40 and 45-foot lots within this pod 33. And, you know, when you go back and forth, I always do this wrong. Okay, I'm doing it all wrong. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's not like my clicker at home, sorry. Okay, so that is where we are. That's the original. That is the proposed. Same street pattern, same drainage pattern, same everything, same 120-foot buffer, same drainage basin, just changing the lot widths.
And Linda, just to, not beat a dead horse, but Again, you could do the ability to do two-story. It will be one-story, and right now you
Correct.
could do view shed,
So
fencing,
that's
and it'll be
coming, yeah.
block. Oh, did I
Oh,
steal
yeah.
your thunder?
No,
I'm
no, no, no,
sorry.
you're good. No, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely. The original amendment, if, full disclosure, the 67-foot wide lots, the number of lots that we had here would have been single-story. If we wanted to reduce those number of lots down to 20, we could absolutely do two-story all along that southern boundary. But the proposal would be all these lots, absolutely all single-story along that first row. And then single-story, the masonry wall per the condition, not view fencing, because some of the concerns that we heard at Planning and Zoning Commission were related to noise and views. And so to make sure that the views are taken care of, we're offering some additional trees, some additional landscaping in that 10-foot transition area between the natural buffer and the back of the walls, and then to combat potential noise and any views that might escape through, that you might actually be able to see through the vegetation, to have those to be solid so you can't see in the back walls.
Linda?
Sure, Councilor. The wall is actually the back of the lots. So that is what you see. This one? And then 10 feet. So the landscape border's outside of the back wall of the house, and then the natural. So the landscape border is north of the natural buffer. Is that, sure.
Yes,
Councilmember
Diane?
Perrella?
How many square feet will one of those ranch houses be on the smaller lots?
So Councilmember Perrella, we are currently right in the platting stage. This is not in the hands of a home builder yet, so we don't have models. Once this would go to a home builder, then we would have those, but we don't have that at this time because we're only at the plat.
But obviously, if it's a smaller width lot with a one-story, it's going to be to the smaller square footage per house, correct?
Correct.
Thanks.
So we did do some photo simulations, and just to visualize what it would look like in the before and after condition. So this is at the corner at Calle de Julio and our emergency access road as you're coming down, and looking to the northeast across the site. So you can see that this is in the existing approved plat that we have today. And this shows, you can see the rooftops of these homes. And this is what you see. You can slightly see a few more rooftops as, peeking through. But again, that single-story restriction, that setback, and that landscape buffer, this actually doesn't even show the additional landscaping that would be put in the back. This was done prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission, so there could potentially even be some more trees that could come in there and even screen that even more. And this is looking toward the center of the site, looking to the north, and again, looking sort of at a normal human viewpoint from the road to the north. And the vegetation does an amazing job of screening those, especially with the distance and the single story. So this is in the existing condition with the approved plat. This is proposed, just very, very few. So that, with that, again, we really do appreciate working with staff and helping us tackle this affordability issue. I think the conditions that were put on it, both by staff and by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the last condition that was added after Planning and Zoning, really do address the concerns that we heard, and we're very supportive and very willing to accept those conditions. And with that, I'd be absolutely happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Before I open up the public hearing, does anybody to my right have any questions? No. Do anybody to my left have any questions? No? Okay. I will open the public hearing. And I know one person wanted to speak a little longer, but then another person took out his time, so that it'll work out fine. But I do have to, we have 3 lights. The green light means the 3 minutes starts, the yellow light means you have 1 minute left, and then the red light comes on and the trap door opens and you disappear if you don't adhere to that. But joking aside, I do have to be consistent, because if I allow any one person to go over, then I have to allow other people to go over. If you could respect the lights, when the red light comes on, if you could just wrap up your thought, I'd really appreciate it. First one is Kirby Sigmund. And I'm going to do my best on the writing and the names, but if I butcher somebody, I apologize in advance.
Mr. Mayor, I just also, it has been tradition, some people feel like they need to tell us where you live. You do not need to give us your address
Right.
when you come up. You get to keep your privacy
All
on
right,
telling
good,
that to
'cause
the world.
I put, for the contact, I put my phone number instead of.
Well, that's okay,
No,
that
I
just
was
goes
talking about-
into, I'm just saying right here, you don't have to say, I live at.
People
yeah,
sometimes feel like they
wherever it
have
is.
to tell us where you live. You do
Right.
not need to tell us.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Murphy and council. So I am supposedly, if all works out well, cross fingers, I'm supposed to be an inheritor of a house in the neighborhood in which is being affected with this whole, if I can say, like the older houses. Anyways, yeah, the original houses. And I have photos actually from Sunday, just yesterday, for people breaking into the neighborhood. I say breaking in, their car broke down, and they were conveniently that gate on the road, that, you know, the humpy road, that conveniently their truck broke down, and we just have to break into these gates so we can easily get. And that's nonsense. That if this emergency gate was there, I would see them doing the exact same thing because it was so convenient. And that does not need to happen in my neighborhood. I don't need anyone breaking in anywhere, doing any kind of nonsense like that. And besides the fact, more people means more hectic chaos, as well as like safety. My home right now is pretty safe. I've got. So like with this whole opening up of potential crime and danger, are you guys gonna lower taxes in that area, or I mean, right? Because
As a reminder, no one pays property taxes in the town of Sahuarita.
but I mean, since
No property taxes come to the town of Sahuarita.
but I just, you know, if the money, if I'm going to be saving money at all from doing this, I'm going to have to obviously put it in more home security. Means that it's going to, they're powered by numbers, and it's just mathematically there's more chance of shit happening to my house if it's, you know, if there's more people, there's bigger chances. I'm a math guy. I'm a special education teacher for Sunnyside School District. I'm very adamant about this. I do not want this at all. And I know a bunch of people here support me in this, and it's a terrible idea. It's been this way for I don't know how long. I've lived in the same house for over almost 20 years, and it's been just fine. Why change it? So, and that's what I have to say about it, and thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Matt Ronde?
How you doing? I don't need a mic. I'm kind of boisterous.
We just have to kind of go to that side because the recording won't pick it up.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
All right.
Thanks.
First question is on Wash 88. It's been that way for 20 years. You guys come in with a front end loader, clean out the road, we're good to go. So I mean, if it was such a concern, why wasn't it done 20 years ago? Okay, I might have a list. Okay, how big are the houses gonna be?
What?
I mean, are they gonna be 2-bedroom 3-bedroom, one bath, kind of like that?
I can't address Yeah, he can't.
Okay, okay. So Green Valley's done that. They've had houses, 1 bath, 2 bedrooms, and they're called vacation homes. And then as people had to live in them, they started adding a bathroom, a closet, a whole nother room, just to make it livable. Also is that my in-laws live in the Voyager RV Park. They live in the park models, like 700, 800 foot. And then every park model there has got either 2 or 3 additions to it, just to make it livable. So that's the one thing, I don't understand that. And I guess next thing is, again, the property taxes. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate you being here. Robin Norris? Norris?
I don't want that to. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Sarita council members. Appreciate you guys having this meeting. I'm a resident of Valle Verde del Norte, been there for 28 years. I am strongly opposed to this amendment. This change would allow for high-density residential development next to a long-established neighborhood of over 40 years that has always been characterized by its rural charm. The introduction of such high-density housing would drastically alter our long-established neighborhood's character and potentially devalue our 1 acre per home properties. There is no transition from a 1 acre lot with 1 house to 42 houses on approximately 8 acres. This proposed amendment is greedy and gross. The buffer between Valle Verde del Norte and Rancho Sarita is not adequate. The desert has been clear cut, and the natural beauty of the desert is being lost. It's being replaced by noisy streets and very dense housing. Desert animals are already being displaced. We're seeing a lot more javelina on our property because they have nowhere else to go. All these natural elements will be lost forever. Our quality of life will be disrupted. I recommend that the Sarita Mayor and Town Council strongly consider the wishes of the neighborhood of Valle Verde del Norte that has been there 40+ years. Everybody's talking about this new development, housing for people that can't afford it, but what about the residents that have been there 40 years? Thank you.
I'm not going to try the last name. Jean. Jean K.
Hello. My main concern was the security access. It looked like a through road on the diagram, so it's good to know that won't be able to be accessed from one development to the other. I do echo the last speaker. The purpose is for the developer, because they're saying we can't sell these houses. There's not enough market. The interest is too high. When is someone going to put limits on the greed of these developers to cram as many houses as they can into a small parcel of land. There's this Rancho, millions and millions and millions of dollars in property has been developed. And there's no need to out in this, you come from Tucson to buy a house where you can reach across the property and see into the window of your neighbor. This is not for the people. This is so the developers can sell these houses. And that wash that the runoff person was talking about, that wash is collapsing. The retaining walls have collapsed. The property's eroding. It's a mess, and the other wash that's in the development is also collapsing. That needs to be addressed. I'm also wondering the demand for water usage. What is the study on that, and how will that affect our well water and the water demand? Is there a study on that, and is that publicly available? Thank you.
Thanks. Paul Valley?
Hello, my name is Paula Valley. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I understood that the vote was taken last meeting, but I guess I was mistaken. So perhaps there is a vote yet to be taken today. These are my thoughts. Alert! Emergency! Hardship! The housing market has taken a tumble. Some high-end developer has priced themselves out of the low-end sales market. Low-end sales have slumped. That's the emergency. These developers can simply claim that an emergency exists, invoke some certain clause in their agreement with the town, and as a result, they can increase their housing density far and beyond what was previously agreed on, all in the name of humanity. Where is that same humanitarian concern for the residents of Valle Verde del Norte subdivision? How about cleaning up the wash crossings and maintaining the drainage ways on Calle de Augusto so they aren't flood traps in the rain and turning people's properties, which have drained since the 80s, into flood zones? Now, in addition to all that, they want to add the potential for more foot traffic, crime, violence, and all that goes with increased housing densities. It is widely known that with increased housing densities, crime and violence increase also, and will remain so long after the profits have been spent. They propose to take value away from VVDN at the sake of benefiting themselves. The first mailing said 34 new homes. Then the second said 43. I've also heard 42. Who knows what the real number will be when it's all said and done? If there's yet a vote to be had, I hope it is voted down. And I want to say that originally I understood that the first row of homes in the original agreement was first story. And now they say they're only going to be one story if the proposal is agreed. Am I mistaken on that? I am. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I just ask a question?
Absolutely.
Not trying to impact what you say. I'm just curious of hearing, because the homes are coming in. The community, these homes will be built. What I'm interested in hearing from the residents, please, you don't have to listen to me, but there's either going to be 28 or 42 homes on that street that buffers you guys, right? And I'm just wondering if it matters to you that you would rather have the 42 homes as 1 stories or 28 homes with 2 stories.
And maybe in a view fence.
And a view fence. I apologize. Okay.
That's not a choice.
Okay, hold on. And I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm just curious as to what you would prefer. Like because the houses are coming. Like, we can't stop the houses from coming. They've already been approved that there's going to be at least that many homes. And so I'm just curious, from the resident standpoint, if you're coming up, you don't have to get mad at us. I'm just curious as to which one you would prefer to see. So, 2-story homes, 28 of them, or 1-story homes of 42 of them on that back row with the 10-foot buffer, 150, 130 buffer.
In a block wall.
Okay.
Well, well,
no,
you can't respond
And I
right from that.
apologize, I don't know if I'm stepping out, but I would just like to hear from the residents that will be affected by that.
Sylvia Muir?
Ma'am,
Sylvia?
I meant that when you come up, if you would like to address that. So I just to let you know, we can't take answers from the audience, but I wanted to address it. So I apologize if I made it worse.
Sylvia Muir? Is that, are you Sylvia? No, I'm Robin. Well, if you haven't spoken, you can come up, but you have to put a card in to address who you are.
But she asked us a question.
Well, maybe the other people that will be coming up can answer the question.
I had time. I gave it to her.
Well, we'll have, well, I need Sylvia if she's here and would like to speak. No? Sylvia Muir? M-I-E-U-R-E? She might have left. Sherry McGriff? And maybe you want to take advantage of that question.
I will.
And actually, somebody else, Herschel, gave that, so I will give you additional time instead of having Herschel come up and
Okay.
respond behind you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Sherry McGriff, and I've been a resident of Valle Verde del Norte for 27 years. The applicant stated in the last meeting that the market has changed since the original specific plan in 1996 and are asking for approval of this new plan due to a special hardship. In short, they're asking for more lots to make up for the value difference in their investment or to allow for the lack of larger lot sales. While that is unfortunate, it's like me saying I bought stock in 1996 that is now worth less, and I'm asking the company for my original investment back. I did some research to find that there are currently 166 active listings in Rancho Cerrita. There are none in Valle Verde del Norte. The average days on the market in our very low-density neighborhood with 1-acre lots is 38 days. In the past year, only 3 homes were listed and sold, which I believe disproves the fact that larger lots are not sellable, and thus there is no special hardship argument. Regarding LU 4.3, part of that statement reads, promote new development that is compatible with existing land uses. The town and council have a duty to respect the integrity of the original town landscape and plan for the future accordingly. While changing Pod 33 from low-density residential to medium low-density residential is in keeping with the rest of Rancho Cerrita to the north, I would submit that it is not in keeping with that promise regarding our R1 zoning to the south that has been in existence prior to the town's incorporation. Property value concerns. A conversation with a realtor friend educated me that comps are calculated by comparing houses in the same neighborhood that have sold in the last 6 months. If there are none, they enlarge the radius to include adjacent neighborhoods. This could certainly result in lowering our $470,000 average home values. I walked the development area today. I could be wrong, but it appears they are excavating and backfilling to make the lots level from west to east instead of stepping down to the east as Valle Verde del Norte does. This will raise the elevation of those new built homes at the east end of Calle de Julio, making views of the new homes from those residents in Valle Verde del Norte at that end of Julio even more undesirable. Drainage concerns. I have some photographs. Can I hand them and they can just pass them down? Or do I submit them a different way?
Well, you can give them to the town clerk, and then she'll send them down this way.
There's my first 3 minutes.
Yep.
Now I'm Herschel. We have 2 very large washes running through Valle Verde del Norte. They are both in serious need of repair. Many of us have a serious concern for the northernmost wash, and adding drainage from this new development to the north of us will amplify our already poor draining conditions. Properties on the north side are eroding, and on the south side of that wash, there's a well that serves 105 houses in Valle Verde del Norte with an access road to that well. That road is also eroding. In fact, the southernmost wash in Valle Verde del Norte is eroding on both sides as well. We've had much difficulty in finding out who is responsible for these washes, whether it be the town or the county. Last year, the county repaired a concrete berm to help with erosion on a rounded corner of the south side of the North Wash. Water runs under I-19 toward the east and crosses Avenida Valle Verde del Norte and Calle de Julio diagonally, about where their emergency gate will be. That crossing is very near where that gate will be. Water will run under that gate like a river coming down the new blacktop road from this new development. The pictures I present are at the east end of that wash, where the drainage runs east across Avenida de Augusto. Currently, there's so much sand built up on each side of Augusto that the water has nowhere to run. The town usually scrapes the sand from the road after a rain, but it only pushes the sand up on the sides of the road. If we already have issues with that wash handling existing drainage, how will it handle any additional drainage? And I had some questions. The 6-foot solid wall will end somewhere. Will foot traffic be able to access Valle Verde del Norte at that point? How many rows of lots will be single story at the southern end of the development? It doesn't say one row, it just says the southern rows. My final paragraph is, please understand I'm not anti-development. I served on a planning and zoning commission myself for 2 years back in the 90s. Our neighborhood does not have an HOA, so we are lucky to gather a small group of homeowners to represent Valle Verde del Norte. We were here for the development to the south of Valle Verde del Norte, and we were here for the installment of the cell tower near our entrance. We do have a voice. My reason for being here today is to respectfully request that the council deny this proposal for all of the reasons I've already stated. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Purcell Felton?
Can I just say a couple things came up with their presentation that I didn't have in my notes?
Just really quick, because
Yeah.
the time was
The
expiring.
drainage graphic that they showed, way outdated. There's a house been built on that property for how many years is the newest house in our neighborhood? 3? Yeah. Drainage has changed in the last 4 years, big time, down our wash. And Rancho Cerrita engineers did the drainage study. Do I understand that correctly?
Well, they have a contractor that does it.
Okay. I was going to suggest an independent study if that's the case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this
Good
time.
evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. First of all, I'd like to say that picture that was showed earlier about the elevation is manipulated. It is not accurate. I'll say that I drive by there every day. I live on Calle de Julio, and just the dirt itself, I can see it from my front door without a house on it. So I know it's going to be a major issue. But the bottom line is basically we realize this is not about people or houses. It's about money, about the golden rule. He who has the gold rules. And we think that it's time to give people consideration because the big contractors or wealthy seem to it's not about people. That's the bottom line. So the question I want to ask is are any of the builders planning to live within that community? And I think I know the answer. Why would you sell something to someone that you're not willing to live in? And my point being simply is that those houses, we know, the more people you put together, it's just a matter of time that there'll be more conflict. The young man brought that up earlier. I think we're building, if the contractors have their way, we're building a future ghetto because closer to people, the more people you squeeze into one area, obviously the more problems do arise. I think where we live is a nice area. I like to keep it a nice area. It was designed, or I think originally set up, in order to keep that low density so that it would be housing, and people can afford them. Like one of the individuals talked about earlier, people are moving in that neighborhood. In fact, my very neighbor has only been there about 6 months, so it's not as if the property is not affordable. It's just that greed steps in. And yes, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know things are getting more expensive, but the bottom line is there's still quite a few people out there, I think, that can afford the low density type of properties. So anyway, with all that said and done, I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out. And
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's all the speaker cards I have. Is anybody that hasn't spoken already would like to address the council? Yes, just make sure you fill out a card afterwards, but you have to come to the, and just state only your name for the record.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tony Butler, and I live in Verde Valley del Norte, and listening to some of the issues that have happened today, we're talking about new homes being built on this area, but we don't know how large these are. We haven't had any models, so we don't know how big these smaller homes will be, or a potential two-story. So we don't know how many extra residents are going to be living in that area. So it's kind of difficult to make an evaluation as to whether this is going to be good for our community or not. With that said, how long a time will these properties be taken to be built? Is it a matter of 1 or 2 years, which maybe the smaller homes will take, be quicker than the bigger homes? If we have smaller homes, maybe we're going to be using more people in that area, heavier density of people, using more water. We pump our own water from our own well. I don't know how deep that is. The use of that water, is it going to dry up and then we're not going to have water? How's this going to be an issue? We're looking at the age of our well and how long that's going to last. Also, maybe needing to get into another water co-op or whatever, being in the town of Sahuarita, maybe supply our water, farmers or whoever. So these are kind of the issues that we're looking at, but we still don't have enough information as to whether it's good to have a single story, 48 homes or whatever, or 28 2 stories. So are we looking at, what's the time frame of this? How many more meetings are there going to be? Is this going to be a final decision in the next 2 months, 3 months? Or is this something that's going to be drawn out and something going to be, in 5 years' time? When's the development going to take place?
Right. Well, we're voting on it tonight, but market drives all conditions on when things develop.
So it could take quite a while for this to develop?
It's all up to the market, yeah.
And then I am also concerned about the drainage, that southern wash, or the northern southern wash, whatever, there's 2 of them, is washing away. And I think we've had well meetings for the community of 105 people, whatever, and that's always been a problem in that wash being. We need the service trucks to go down there to gain access to that well, and people have had a issue trying to get this culvert or whatever addressed. And so I don't know whether we're obviously in the Green Valley community, whereas all our taxes go to Sahuarita. So is this
Well, you live in the town of Sahuarita, so it would be a town issue on this outside drainage that has come to, as Nalo mentioned, but it's not connected to the project.
Okay.
So
okay.
Mr.
we'll
Mayor?
have that. Yes.
I thought we could invite staff to maybe address the question about water. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I thought that there's the connection of the water's not going to be dried up because of Rancho. I don't know if you wanted to address that question.
As far as coming from the Sahuarita
He was
Water
worried
Company.
that the water coming from the development may take up their well water. And I know you probably have that answer.
Thank you. That's a great question. Mayor Murphy, members of the council, the water for the new development comes from the Sahuarita Water Company, and they have the assured 100-year water supply.
Right. Diane?
Nalo, the 3 people expressed concerns about this wash. Is that wash that they've expressed concerns about anything to do with this decision tonight?
Mayor Murphy, Councilmember Priolo. No, the wash is not part of the development. As a matter of fact, we recently took ownership of the channel that was brought up that's on the north side of where that Wash 88 kind of flows through. We recently took ownership of it from the county. The county had done some minor upgrades to it, like the concrete that's in there. We actually have a schedule with the monsoon season happening right now. We have a schedule for our street staff to be able to go in there and do some upkeeping in that wash. So it's just a matter of us scheduling it and going in there and doing some maintenance work on it. But no.
Thank you.
Yep.
You didn't speak already? Yep, thank you. Come up to the microphone. Okay. Yep, Lisa's coming over. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
I've been in Valle Verde del Norte for 23 years. My name is Jack Walls. I do have a question regarding the drainage. I understand it flows from the west to the east to the river. That's obvious. And they showed the drainage going kind of northeast, which that's their proposed, I suppose. My question is, why are they building a retention basin at the southeast end of the whole thing? I mean, it shows it on the map. So that's kind of odd if it goes from east or from west to northeast, but they're still going to build a retention basin on the absolute southeast of that development. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
you.
Nala, do you want to take that? I think I could, but I want to see you get some more exercise.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Jack, that was an excellent question. So usually for retention, detention areas, are you referring to the one on the south?
Yeah, the
side of it?
southeast, yeah.
So when they do the design, there's ways for you to get the water in the natural waterways. But this one right here, there's drainage from the roof, from the pavement. That's gotta have a place to go, and a lot of times you can't really direct them into the washes and stuff like that. So you have to have a place for that water to go to be able to.
Right. There's multiple ways to capture drainage, help drainage when you replat a property or develop a property, correct?
That is correct, Mayor.
Thank you. See, I just wanted to see you walk.
So just for clarification, it's just capturing the water that's falling on the streets and the houses, that's hitting the hardscape of the roads and such, to capture those, to slow down that water and just keep it there until it can.
That is correct, Vice Mayor. It's just part of the conveyance system for the water. So
Thank you. Thanks. Maybe you don't want to go all the way back to your seat. I don't know. Mabel?
So hi, okay, it's on.
I wasn't going to talk, but there's a couple things that has really bothered me tonight. And I'm going to go back to 2022. We did not receive a letter saying that they were going to change the zoning. And that really upsets me because we have been to all these meetings for the water tower, for all the other ones. Now, when they had their meeting in Rancho, they said it was 4 on an acre. They wanted to move it to 6 on an acre, but the first row would be 1 story. So whether it was 4 on an acre or 6 on an acre. So now, why are we being threatened that if we don't allow 6 on an acre, it's going to be 2 stories? When did that change?
Well, staff can touch on that, but it's the existing condition as the specific plan as it exists.
Then why did they not inform us of that? Why did they lie to us?
I can't
Why did they not inform us in 2022 that they were going to change the zonings? Why did we not have a voice in that? We've lived there for 21 years, and we're going to be impacted because we live on the corner.
Thank you. Wayne Hatch.
I want to start out by apologizing because I wasn't expecting on asking questions or speaking, so my thoughts aren't the most organized. So my wife and I purchased our property 4 years ago. During that time, any of this planning was mentioned throughout that process. I don't think that's on the realtor, but I think as a member of the area, there should be some better way to understand that there are plans in the future, because if we would have known this, we wouldn't have bought the house that we did. With that quick question, my first question is, it's going to sound off topic, but I'm going to come back into it. With your fitness center and that super awesome plan that you guys have, are we considered residents for that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Just because there's a lot of confusion about half our town has a Green Valley mailing address,
right.
zip code, but you're in the town of Sahuarita, and you are a resident, yes.
Okay.
It was back to Green Valley.
Could you clarify your comments about us not paying taxes to Sahuarita then if we're a resident of
Yes,
Sahuarita?
currently as it exists, property taxes, if you look on the back of your property tax, Pima Community College, Pima County Library, Pima County, SUSD, bond override,
Right.
no money on your property tax that you pay. It doesn't say currently the town of Sahuarita.
Okay.
None of that flows to us.
Okay. So even though the town of Sahuarita itself is not receiving tax money for us, do you still put us in your priority? Because your comment earlier with the non-residents are just kind of...
You're a resident.
I know, but
Oh.
I'm just saying, just to
absolutely.
clarify. That. Okay.
We all represent every resident in the town of Sahuarita.
Okay, I just want to clarify.
Yep.
So to answer... Barrett's?
Vice Mayor Egbert.
Yes, ma'am. So to answer her question, at least me and my wife, and I think many others, we would prefer, with the ultimatum that we're given, the 28 homes with the 1 story, just to give clear communication.
Well, no.
Or the 2 stories, sorry. 28 homes and the 2 story.
In the view fence.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, obviously, I have concerns about, value of houses, potential crime rates, the budgeting for more law enforcement to deal with those potential crimes and all that stuff. And then also, I would like to address the, I had a question. In the prior meetings and stuff, was it ever proposed to not put any houses on that last side of the south
When the
side?
specific plan, Dylan, when was that specific plan? The specific plan's been approved since 1996
Oh, wow.
to have homes there.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a public record, which has always been a public record.
All right. May I ask one last question? Or no? What is the rough estimated increase of budget or increased revenue of the 28 houses versus the other houses?
It's about 3,000 for construction sales tax. What is it for an average home? Just an average.
Mayor Murphy, for this type of home, probably around 3,000 per roof.
That's what I was guessing, yeah. So we get 3% for the town, construction sales tax. It's a one-time construction sales tax when the home is built. So if it was 28 homes, it would be times 3,000. If it's 42 homes, it would be the delta times 3,000.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlene Fleck.
I have a question. This is the original 28 homes on this plot, right?
Yeah, I'd have to count them. I think so.
It is, yeah. This has not been updated yet. That would be part of the plat,
Yeah.
the new plat.
Okay, so this is with the old. Are they reducing the size only of the lots on that one end? The rest of the subdivision stays as platted, or are all the lots of that subdivision being reduced?
Well, it's whatever it needs to be to get the extra 42. So it'd only be as many as it would to get to 42 additional lots. Linda, how many total right now are there right now? I think you can.
How many proposed lots are there in this subdivision currently?
Well, 118 to 160. Yes, 118 lots, and it'll go to 161 lots.
So that's how, so it's actually more than just the southern end that's going to have the reduced lots.
Just
The
for-
entire subdivision is going to compress lots.
Yeah, just for clarification, that southern row is adding 14 homes, and the rest of them are adding
So the rest of the
additional.
44
Are going in the
reducing
rest of them.
all of.
Yes.
I
Then-
try to take good notes.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't realize that. I didn't realize until I was looking at the overlay. But then I think I would prefer to keep the 28 lots and the entire subdivision having bigger lots than to take one row, to get one-story houses on one row. All of those subdivision lots are being minimalized, and I
Well,
think
it's not
that's-
all, but there's some.
Well, it looks like all of them, when they showed the second thing, it looks like all of the lots in this subdivision are being reduced in size, which means all of the density in that subdivision is being reduced in size. So, okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. That's all the speaker cards I have. No, we already had, well, no, you already had an opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, it's for us to, any new people want to present, come on up, just make sure you fill out a card. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. So my understanding is the decision or the hardship request is based on the market and the selling conditions. I heard mortgage rates being tossed as the need to reduce.
Well, it's part of the general plan, it's a whole proposal that was presented to
Well,
us.
in the decision from going from, LDR to MDR,
Mhm.
right? So, look, we've all bought houses before. Real estate market changes. These rates are they're gonna fluctuate, they're gonna be cyclic. So it's more of I like to raise that in your decision. House prices are gonna fall, mortgage rates are gonna fall. I would hope that you guys think about that in your decision to going from LDR to MDR. They're going to be built. Our preference is 28 because, again, overpopulation, you're cramming a bunch of people. It's just, I don't know. I'm raising that question, for you guys to think through on this decision.
Thank you. Arlo Oster?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name's Arlo Brian Oster. I've lived in Valle Verde del Norte the last 3 years. I also own a rental property in Rancho, which I lived in. It was my primary residence before. I moved out of Rancho because of the cluster, and we bought the 1 acre lot because I do a lot of outdoor stuff, archery and stuff like that. And we have a couple young kids, wanted a safe environment and all that. There's things I like about Rancho. Sure, the amenities are nice, but it's just way overcrowded. Kind of like Mr. Hatch said, had I known that this was all going to take place, we wouldn't have bought. And I think that's really important for those of us who have invested in our properties in Valle Verde del Norte, because it is going to have an impact on the real estate and for our stuff, right? And I know a lot of you lived here for 20 plus years. I don't really have a plan, but I'm not going to be here forever. So for me, the value of my property is very important. And I feel like this is just, everybody's talked about their concerns and their issues, but it's also going to affect us and our property. I used to live in Los Arroyos. I know what happens there. I know that there's higher crime rates. I know there's a lot of flow over from Walmart and that stuff like that in South Tucson. So I have concerns about traffic, increased traffic, the type of people that are going to live there. And the last thing I just kind of want to say is, it's really frustrating. I feel like from the council and specifically the mayor, I feel like this decision's already made. And I feel like these proposals are, hey, you're going to either eat this or you're going to eat this, but it's happening either way. And I just feel like that's a shame. I mean, at the end of the day, we all know, it's a developer. They're using an opportunity to make more money. It's not about helping people out and lowering costs. You can't tell me that these houses are going to be any cheaper, whether there's 28 or 42, or if you build 60 of them. It's all going to be the same price. It's a developer trying to make money. So, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Well, no, not yet. From the folks? Okay. You have to come up, fill out a card.
I will fill out a card.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Walter Freischlad. Been living over in Valle Verde del Norte just shy of 30 years, way before there was a town of Sarita, when this was a nice, small, rural community. That's why I came here, to stay away from all of this. If I wanted this, I would have moved to Tucson. Been closer to the malls, the airport, and all that stuff. Came here to get away from that. But it worked its way over here. It's what life is, and that's what we're going to deal with. But now, more I'm been sitting here and watching this, I can see what's going on here and who really, truly runs Sarita. It's the developers. They have a business plan. They will not deviate from their business plan. They want us to deviate from our living plan. They're going to ask you to make changes to help them, not to help us. And in the end, it's all about the citizens of Sarita, not the developers. They made their hundreds of millions of dollars. They're walking away with all the profits, and we're stuck with the crap. It's just what it comes down to. I mean, I'm getting upset while I'm sitting here listening to everybody, and I can see what's going to go on here. So basically, I'm sorry, but the ball's in your court. Today, we're going to find out who runs Sarita. Does the town of Sarita, does the council and the people run Sarita, or does it developers of Sarita? This is what we're going to find out right now. And I trust that you guys are going to do the right decision. You made the right decision with that asphalt plant. That would have been horrendous. And I think you guys stood up for us, and we appreciate it. I applaud you for doing that. Really, that was a huge thing. Here's the second time where you can tell the outsiders, don't screw around in our backyard. You want Sorry, if they want it so bad, build it in their backyard, not ours. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, don't forget to fill out a card. Anybody else like to speak? No. I will declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Priola, did you say you had a question?
So I seek understanding. Hi, Linda? Is it Linda? Hi, help me out here.
Linda, yes.
If I could impose on you to bring up a photograph that you had up there previously on the right side. That was it,
Nope.
you just went past it.
Me.
That's it. Okay,
Oh, that was staff's photograph.
that's staff's
Yeah,
photograph.
But I'll be happy to answer a question if I can.
Okay, so the one on the left, are those the lot sizes, the ranch-style house, the one on the left and the one next to it, are those 4,000 square foot lot size?
Look at Dylan.
I'll just say,
Well, Dylan's going to take it.
Councilmember Pirola, those lots, both of those lots that are shown on here are the same dimensions of the lots that they're proposing. So they're both 40-foot wide lots.
Okay, 40 foot wide, and is it the same dimension lengthwise?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Question number 2, where are those homes located right now? And is there anything down in that part of town that, like the new development Parque de la Carraza? They have, Richmond has some ranch houses on lots. Do you have any idea if that's I'm trying to wrap my mind around a visual of what this reduced size looks like.
would you like me to? Diane, the houses on the right are the ones that are just behind Walmart, the, not Abrego, tell me this. I can't think of-
Arroyo.
Los
Thank you,
Arroyos.
Los Arroyos. And the one on the left are Rancho, but they're all the same size lots.
They're all
40 to
40
45s.
foot wide
Yes.
lots.
So the homes just south of where they live are the ones on the right, and the houses on the left will be what they'll be north of these family homes.
Oh, 45.
No, not 1 acre lots. They're going from, they're going from 65.5. No, not when they're specific, it was never platted. No. Go ahead, Linda.
Mayor Murphy, Councilmember Morales, the lots that were in the approved plat are 67 by 120, which is 8,400 square feet.
And then they're going to
That's
40
what's
to
approved now.
45s.
And then there were some 6,700 square foot lots in there as well, but that first row was 8,400 versus
your question?
5,400.
You mean acre? They're adding 14 homes on
14
the...
homes along the first row.
On the back
Yeah.
strip, and the balance between 118 and 161, and the rest of the parcel 33.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, wait. Another question. How is it that if those houses already exist and that's the same size lot, and I'm sure you could tell me perhaps how many square feet that ranch house is, that you can't give me an idea of what this new development's proposed square footage ranch style home would be?
So to give you a estimate of what those would be, those are probably in the range of 1,800 to 2,400 square feet.
Wow.
Don't hold me to that. I'm not a home builder, but that's
There's only so
typically what
much you
you're
can
seeing.
do on there. No. Oh, right.
Okay.
Yep.
There
Well,
are always,
it's-
home builders
yeah.
always have their base model, their lower end, and then they have a range. So giving you some averages of what we have. But But again, it depends on the builder. It depends on, you know, a lot of factors as they come in, and we don't have that builder because you have to get the plan amendment, the plat, and then the sell, and then the builder would do the home plans.
Thank you. Any more question for staff?
I'm not done yet.
Okay. Okay, Bill.
I'm not
Okay.
satisfied, and I need to be able to make a decision.
Bill.
Bill?
Bill. Okay. I'm going to have to recess the meeting if we can't get control. Thank you. That includes the audience, please. Thank you. Diane?
If I understand correctly, the reason that you want to have the higher density home is to make homes more affordable to more people. Is that accurate?
The reason that we have gotten feedback on the current plat that is there, that the home builders are not interested in building on that size lot. They don't have the depth of the market. Yes, there is a market that wants to buy the acre lots. There's a market, there's a buyer for everyone. But the home builders that are in Rancho Cerrito, the feedback we have gotten from them is that those lots are too large, and they prefer to have the smaller lots. And again, that's the feedback we got. That's why we're here tonight. We did go ahead and plat it at the 6,700 foot wide, or 67 foot wide, not the 8,400 square foot lots, and that's the feedback that we've gotten. It's important enough to the builders, it's important enough to us to go through this process and come to you and accept additional conditions of that rezoning or of the plan amendment in order to be able to achieve that, to be able to get these in the hands of a home builder and hopefully get people living in these homes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Debbie, did you have something? Okay. Questions for staff? And, you know, just to answer a couple of the comments, I don't come with a decision already made. Obviously, I will answer the vice mayor's question. If I was living in Valle del Norte and I was looking north and I had a choice between having a 2-story home with a view fence or a 1-story home that I'm looking at with a block wall with additional landscaping, I would pick the 1-story home all day long. So that's just me. I always try to, you know, explain my vote when it's there. That would be my preference. I'd rather have the homes are going to be built, as been mentioned before, and I would rather look towards a 1-story home on there to get 40 more lots within the town of Sahuarita. I can't imagine our crime is going to go up for 40 more homes or any such thing, or more water or more of all of those. So, you know, listening to everything, I'll be in support of the ordinance, and if there's not additional feedback or questions, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I have some comments or
Sure.
questions. You know, I think it's good to build more affordable houses. You know, I've lived in a starter home myself. But these smaller houses can be built on larger lots. Like, just because you have a big lot doesn't mean you have to build a big house. And I'm not necessarily calling these lots already large lots either. So if we're looking for more affordability, it's okay to build a small home on a big lot. With this proposal, it says the applicant must demonstrate special hardship due to one of the following, the one that they're claiming is unforeseen changes in the marketplace. I don't know if that's necessarily been demonstrated, that special hardship. And so that's the part of this that I'm having difficulty with. You know, there will be houses that will be built. but I don't know if we necessarily need to change the density because there's not an unforeseen change in the marketplace.
That's why we have 7 ifs up here. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So I was looking back and I was like, I was in high school when this specific plan was passed, just to give you perspective. And I've been looking at this and I do 2 things when making decisions on this council. The person that mentioned the cell phone, I voted no for that cell phone because I listened to the residents. And I apologize that the council didn't listen and they voted for it. Because I know, and I try to, that's one of the advice that I received from one of the first council members that was kind of mentored me, was to look at who it affects the most. And the residents are the ones that, those you want to listen to and take into them. And the other people that I listen to most often is staff, because I trust their judgment. I've seen over 15 years of being on this council that staff doesn't have, they don't have agendas. They don't. They are just hardworking staff members that want to do a good job and they want to go home to their families and think that they've done a great job. And so I struggle with this decision because staff says it's feasible, it works out, and I have residents are saying, and that's why I wanted to ask, the residents are thinking that these 29 interior homes and 14 extra homes is going to make a big difference in their livelihood. So I'll be honest with you, at this point, I have no idea how I'm going to vote. But I wanted to share some of my voice on that. I'm listening to the residents and the staff, and you may want to take a roll call when we vote.
Anybody else like to make any comments?
No, I'll make a motion though, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion not to adopt ordinance 2024-175.
So we have a motion and a second, and go for a roll call vote. So a yay vote is to not adopt. Lisa?
Mayor Murphy.
No.
Councilmember Morales. Councilmember Priolo.
Yay.
Vice Mayor Egbert.
Yay.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yay.
Yes, yay.
Oh, what did you say?
I said yes.
Oh, okay.
Yay. Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Bracco.
No.
Councilmember Gillespie.
Yes.
Councilmember.
That's it.
That's it.
Morales.
I had way too many items on here. So the vote is
Did you vote?
5-2. 5 being yes, 2 being nay, passes.
Got it. Thank you.
Let's vote yes or no.
It did not get approved.
Mayor, could we need to poll the council, yes or no, what was your vote? Because I think there's a miscount. Yes
It's
or
still-
no?
It's still passed. I think they just need to figure it out.
Yeah, it's either 4-3 or 5-2 in favor, but I think there's a
Yeah, it
kind of
was five,
confusion.
I think it was 5-2.
Just go ahead and go
I
down the
thought,
line.
well,
It was Bracco and me.
how did Councilmember Morales vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, my mistake then.
Yeah, I don't think he heard you. Item number 13, Madam Clerk.
Presentation, discussion, and possible approval of an amendment to the lease agreement with Advanced Technologies Applications Group, Inc., ATAG, Inc., to lease 4,500 square feet of the Saharita Advanced Manufacturing and Technology Center, SAMTech.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm going to walk through 20 pages of a lease amendment with ATEC. No.
By each word. I want each word.
No, but we do have before you an amendment to this. We do have before you an amendment to our lease with ATAC at Samtec, and so I do want to walk through some of the changes. We were before you last September, in which we entered into a lease agreement with ATAC. Don't worry, they're not going anywhere. It's all good news to this amendment. The first part of the amendment is just cleaning up. They actually, when we entered into a lease agreement back in September, the premise that was identified in the lease agreement was for 5,000 square feet, when in fact, the square footage is 4,500 square feet. The 500 square feet difference was in that we accounted the electric room and the telecom room as part of their 500 square, as part of their overall square footage, when that square footage is common area. So I know that was a little bit of a word salad, but it's 4,500 square feet, not 5,000 square feet, and so that is part of the amendment in the cleanup language. So we have 4,500 square feet, rentable square feet. The lease term also is being amended. So when we entered into the lease contract last September, it was for 5 years, and we've now extended the lease term to 128 calendar months, which equates to 10 months plus 6 months. Yes, so ATAC wanted to extend their stay at Samtec, so that is good news. The base rent stays the same at 65 cents per square foot, triple net plus rental tax. And there is some, we are amending, if you will, the deferment of months. So in the original lease contract, we do have stated that we abated the rent months of 1 through 8, so the first 8 months. That is standard practice in any commercial lease. It allows a tenant to come into the space and or build out the tenant improvements before they have to actually start paying rent. But the way that you capture that rent abatement over those months is you tack it on. So in this case, if you give the tenant 8 months of rent abatement, it's 10 years plus 8 months. And so we're capturing that in the back end. Again, that's just standard practice in commercial leases to allow the tenant to fully move in, generate income before they start paying rent. With this amendment, we are allowing or giving what is deferring months 9 through 12, which is June, July, August, and September. So there has been some challenges with ATAC, not in their operations, but in their ability to just be able to secure a competitive bid with general contractors. And so when they executed the lease back in September, they quickly began to vet out different contractors. And they went through probably about 3 different contractors before they settled on one. The challenge was being a small tech company coming out of California, also having operations in Las Cruces. They were wanting to really just be cost conscious in the tenant improvements. And so that delay of vetting out contractors ate into the rent abatement months. And so with this amendment, they'd asked to defer the 4 months of rent. But we are capturing that defer rent. So yes, this amendment defers months 9 through 12 of the first year of lease. That is about 11,700, and we are going to capture that those deferred months within the lease contract. So you can see there on the language, the base rent deferred from months 9 through 12 totals about 11,000, and so that becomes payable by the tenant beginning on the 60th month of the term and ending at the 120th month. And so the tenant's going to pay essentially 4 cents per square foot, so that's an additional $195 per month in addition to the base lease. So that's just the way we negotiated. We wanted to be lenient with ATAG, understanding that they had some delays in securing the contractor, getting the work in, but we certainly felt we had a fiduciary responsibility, and so we wanted to capture that. And so I think we found a happy medium in negotiating that point with them. The tenant improvement allowance, we are also amending the tenant improvement allowance. So initially, we provided a tenant allowance of $125,000. Being that ATAG is extending their lease to 10 years, we also negotiated a tenant improvement allowance increase to $157,500. So it's on par with what we've given other tenants. With Power Photonics, they have a 10-year lease, and we provided a $35 a square foot tenant allowance. And so this brings ATAG on par with what we provided with a 10-year lease at $35 a square foot for tenant allowance. ATAG also requested a tenant improvement cost balance, and so there's a delta there between the allowance and the cost of construction for tenant improvements, and that's about $49,000. And so they asked if we could be in a position to provide that cost balance in the way of a loan, if we want to call it that. And so the way we're recovering that $49,000 is by the tenant paying that back to us, the landlord, in amount of 9 cents per square foot per month. And that starts on the first month that the rent is due, all the way up to 120 months. And so we capture that back. In the event that the tenant vacates the premise before the expiration of the term, then that tenant improvement cost balance allowance is due and is owed in full to us. And then we have built in this amendment early termination clauses. So, that's certainly a concern of ours, right? What happens, right? We're fronting some of their costs and expenses. What happens if they walk away? Well, we now have built in some early termination clauses to this amendment. And so the tenant will be, if they terminate the lease after the first 48 months, tenant shall be permitted to terminate this lease after first 48 months. So, yes, so there's termination clauses. If they terminate before 48 months, then the tenant improvement costs and what we provided is due. However, in our discussions with ATAG, they see themselves being in Sahuarita for a very long time as a result of the 10-year lease that they negotiated. But they also have plans to grow the facility. They're only in 4,500 square feet now. They're projecting that they could outgrow that space within 10 years. And so they asked and negotiated a clause to allow them to terminate the lease after the 48 months without penalty if they build and occupy a new facility in the town of Sahuarita. And so we agreed to that, and that's terms are reflected in the amendment. I do want to say that as landlords, we are going to, at our cost, cover the cost for the HVAC control unit. So that was an item that we purposely left out during the construction of the shell building. So similar to the demising wall and the restrooms, that as a landlord, we're at our cost, we're providing. We're also providing the HVAC control unit in this amendment. Just a little bit about the company. We all know ATAG. By the way, Mr. Josh Kaufman, he wanted to be here tonight, but there was about a 2-hour closure along I-10 just outside of Las Cruces. And so he wasn't able to make it tonight, but he does send his regards and that he looks forward to being with you all at the next council meeting. A little bit about just the projections. They still hold true to what they shared with us last September in terms of the job creation, payroll, and average wages. And then this is the part of the action, the action that you'll take tonight, along with the amendment to the lease, is a budget amendment. And this just reflects the budget amendment to account for the additional TI allowance, the HVAC control costs, and also this budget amendment allows us to cover some of the global water lease costs. That includes, restrooms, demising wall, and HVAC control unit as well. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, Victor, so what I understand is that they can terminate the lease at 48 months without recovering the tenant improvement dollars?
There's a condition to that, that if they would have to relocate
in the town limits.
in the town limits of Sahuarita.
Yeah, but how does that help us, how does that make us whole? We've got all this tenant improvement dollars, for a 10-year lease. It was amortized over 10 years.
Presumably, they would be building a new facility. So from an economic standpoint, there's new sales tax.
Or they're renting somebody else's.
I'm not sure there's anything to rent, but.
Well.
Right. And I think part of it would be.
No, I think, just to be clear, the condition is they have to build a new facility. They can't just rent somebody else's. So they'd have to build and own their own facility. That's the lease condition.
And I think part of it is that most of these tenant improvements are kind of vanilla in nature, bathrooms. Victor, do you want to touch on some of
Yeah,
the?
let me clear that point, because I think I might have glossed over it more so than to go into some specifics. But Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Bracco, so as you look on the slide, tenant improvement cost balance, so what we have is, right, so we're providing additional allowance, right, of $49,000, which we're recapturing, amortized through the life of the term of the lease. And that's 9 cents per square foot, so that's about $49,000. So in the event that the tenant vacates the facility, right, before the expiration of the term, then that balance comes due, right? So if they say we're going to terminate the lease, right, at year 3 or year 4, then they're on the hook for $49,000. But if they built a facility, right, after the 48 months, so if they want to now terminate the lease at month 52 or 54, right, and the reason why they want to terminate is because they've built and occupied a new facility within the town limits, then they're off the hook for that $48,000. Well, those are improvements that are made on the building, and so.
The rent lease could be higher because of the improvements already being made, right? Whether it's bathroom or conference room or those types of things.
In theory, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And obviously, if your HVAC unit is going to be for a future tenant as well, potentially, right?
Also, just to give you a little bit more of a sense of the type of improvements that they are doing, so their floor plan is fairly simple. Most of it is just the 3D printing machines. So the tenant improvements are really the 2 restrooms, the demising wall, and they really don't have any office. Most of the costs in the tenant improvements is on the electrical and mechanical, so distributing those systems. But the improvements are going to be improvements that would be useful for future tenants,
right.
Which then we could apply, a rate that, we can look at capturing those expenses and those costs.
And to just touch on it, when I went to the year anniversary for Power Photonics, I met multiple people that they hired, and I think to a person, everyone is living in the town of Sahuarita. So hopefully, that'll be the same kind of venture that ATAG will bring us, especially at those wages.
Just also be clear, Mayor, that if they vacate the premises after 48 months or before, without building and occupying a new facility, it's not just the 49,000, they also owe the deferred rent, which would be that 11,700. So it's about 60,000 would become due and payable if they terminate early, not consistent with that one provision.
Provision, right. Is that clear for everybody? If any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion from somebody at this time.
Sure, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'll get to the right line here.
Yeah.
Make a
13.
motion to approve the First Amendment to the lease agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Victor. Item number 14, Madam Clerk.
Update regarding the splash pad installation at Animax Park and approval of a budget amendment transferring $80,000 from the general fund's unassigned fund balances to the Animax Splash Pad capital project to cover change orders to complete the splash pad.
Thank you, and I
Hi
think
there.
you're the last man standing, so to speak.
Honorable Mayor, I am excited to be here. Thanks for having me again.
I'm glad. We got a few of those then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to, full disclosure, give you a heads up. So Dylan is out again today. So I'm leading this request tonight and update. I know we've had a lot of questions regarding the splash pad. Before we jump into this, I'll tell you we've learned a lot. These are not unique builds. There's a lot of permitting required. There's a lot of groundwork and electrical, tanks and components. And through that process, we've learned really what it takes to put these things in. So tonight, we wanted to share an update of where we're at. So the question on the table, when is the splash pad going to be complete? Before we get there, let me share, we've experienced delays.
It can't be the 18th of September at the State of the Town?
Mr. Mayor, we
I
are
mean-
trying our best.
Okay.
We're hoping you can give a 2-week out heads up. So some of the biggest challenges we've had with the splash pad installation, again, we were really targeting April initially, but with some of our back orders on components, electrical being specifically one of the big issues, we experienced delays. Additionally, with permitting, these sites have way more permitting than I think we ever imagined, and oversight bodies with Pima County and ADEQ that we're getting through. And then one of the last issues that has come up recently, part of the reason why we're making the request tonight, is existing grade issues. When we talk about accessibility to this location, we really want to prioritize the ADA access. And the grade and elevation issues we've discovered have kind of challenged us to go back and really make sure that we have access prioritized with some changes. So the project is currently back on track for a timeline. Our estimated construction completion is the week of the 23rd. The estimated public opening after that is going to be within 2 weeks of completion. And this really depends on our last inspection from Pima County. We started those discussions. We're feeling good that we're going to be able to turn that around quickly. But just to have expectations met, we think that within that 2 weeks of the completion of the project, we'll have that last permit completed, the inspection from Pima County. So the changes we've experienced over this project, I'd like to just bring up that we didn't take on like a CMAR, a construction manager at risk with this project. Just because of the nature of the project, we managed it internally. So we had a pretty good estimation of what this was going to cost, but we knew that if there was change orders, we'd have to come back to you all for this request. So there's been 3 changes to the Romtech restroom building. The first, and this is all related to our contractor A5. The first one was for electrical components. We did expedite the shipping on one of the pieces of equipment. That was a $10,000 increase so that we could meet this timeline. There was a backflow preventer installation, a cost increase because of the location, right at $17.9 thousand. And then with those ADA changes, there's going to be a small increase. We're estimating less than $5K, but we had to install a new drain to the building, and that's on the building side, to be able to take the runoff from the splash pad towards the building and redirect it away from the bathroom installation. So on the splash pad side, this is another contractor, Altitude Rec and Game Time. We have 1 change order, and this is a footer and stem wall. This is a $35,000 increase. And really what this has to do with is if we look at the property from the east to the west, there's about a 19-inch slope that we've now had to account for to maintain ADA access, but also that drainage. And so because of that elevation change, we've had to put in some footers underneath the installation and a stem wall just to maintain its integrity as we complete the project. So what we're looking at is on the CIP a shortfall of about 63,000, but our request tonight is going to give us a little bit of bandwidth so that we don't have to come back if we have any additional change orders, which we're not anticipating to the completion in September. But we are asking for a budget amendment to cover the described change orders utilizing general funds. So our request is that a budget amendment for 80,000 from the general fund to CIP project 2004-1120-650-999 17K05 to cover these change orders to get us through that splash pad completion date in September.
Any questions for Devin? No? If it not, I'll entertain a motion at this time. Sure.
I move to approve the budget amendment.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 18 September.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if we have an early scheduled timeline, you're going to be the first to know.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
a quick comment before
Yes.
we get done. Can we get the sound system fixed in here?
Yes.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That we got to keep going
Beth,
through this.
can you make a note of that, please? Okay.
Thank you.
It came and went over my head and